we'll just do our interview with him first, and then we'll go into the rest of our stuff. All right.
All right.
Our interview with him. All right, you ready?
Ready.
How you doing, everybody, and welcome to the Moffett on the Mic radio show. We are live, as always, on the 8-1 Sports Network. I am Craig Moffett, and, of course, the show would not be complete without the new head of the table.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh, yes.
You know what the weird part about that picture was? Your dad was so far behind.
Because he didn't want to be in the picture. He literally said...
I don't blame him.
He was like, Chris, I'm not going to sit at the dinner table. If you you sit at I was literally sitting at the head of the table, and he was like, Chris, I'm not gonna sit down at dinner if you don't move your fucking ass out of that seat. I was like, okay, fine. In the spirit of Thanksgiving, I'll let you sit there. But we all know it was me. I was acknowledged.
Yeah, you were acknowledged for like 2 seconds until your dad threw you out of the chair. As always, you can follow the show on Instagram, I'm Off on the Mic, and on my Facebook page as well. You can follow Klim and the 8-1 Sports Network on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Klim, it's been a while since we've had a show. We had the Thanksgiving break. and then you were out being a fireman. So,
Yeah.
but we come back with a bang with our first show in December. And in about approximately 10 minutes, we'll be joined by one of our favorites, Andrew Pisano from the What's Wrong with Wrestling podcast is going to join us. And we've got plenty to talk about. And who knows, we might have some special appearance from KO, Kevin Owens, and Vinnie Mac himself. So we got a lot to talk about regarding War Games, Raw, just everything in general. So I was at Raw last Monday night at UBS Arena.
How's the arena?
The arena is amazing. First of all, the walkway, the concourse is humongous. You should never have an issue getting around people or anything. Okay? The only issue with UBS Arena at this point, and I think it'll get fixed eventually, but it is going to be a problem, is traffic.
Not surprised.
And the reason is because it's like it's technically Nassau County, but it's really on the cusp of Queens.
Right.
And with Queens, there's traffic everywhere. So now the beauty of Monday Night Raw was it wasn't even remotely close to being sold out. And
really,
you ask, how did I get to Raw? My mother-in-law won tickets through Newsday. And they were ringside. They were 4 rows from the ring. So the arena is beautiful. The arena is amazing. But I'm going to tell you right now, Klim, WWE is in trouble. Because it wasn't even the fact that it wasn't sold out. It was the fact that the crowd was dead. It was dead for pretty much every segment on Raw. Seth Rollins came out to open the show. He got a little bit of a pop. Becky Lynch got a little bit of a pop. And, so did Liv. Liv Morgan didn't really get much of one. But throughout most of the matches, guys came out, man. It was like they just didn't have any type of – and the thing was, the episode wasn't that bad.
It wasn't. No, I remember watching last week's episode and was just like, this wasn't bad.
But the issue I have right now with WWE is that they are putting so much emphasis into like 1 or 2 feuds.
Right.
And the rest of the stuff is just thrown together.
No, it definitely is.
So, for example, it's like they bring Edge back, and Edge was great. Edge comes out, and I was right there when Edge came out, so it was so awesome seeing him run out onto his music hits and everything. And you expecting a built up a big feud, right? So the rumors I had heard online that it was going to start an Edge Bobby Lashley feud, which I thought was pretty cool. I thought that would have been a good idea because it's never been done, and you want to try to break away from the usual, bullshit. And then the Miz comes out, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so disappointing. Because the Miz is just not that big of a superstar anymore. He's great on the mic and everything, and a lot of people on social media, rightfully so, accuse WWE of ripping off the CM Punk MJF feud on Dynamite. Totally made sense. But then there were matches during the episode that were just kind of thrown out there, like the Street Profits against Alpha Academy, and the Mysterios against I forgot who. Oh, Mysterio's against the Hurt Business, who don't even come up as a unit anymore because it's just Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. It just felt like a really they're just not building anything good. There's no big fight feel to any of these matches. And that's where AEW has WWE beat by a landslide. It's just that big fight feel for matches.
No, you're absolutely right because no one, like you mentioned, no one's interested in any of those matches, any of those tag matches. No one cares.
Haven't built up any big time superstars, so it's really tough, man, to get into it because Damian Priest comes out, and I completely forgot he was the United States champion.
His run has been so bad.
You see what I mean, though? I shouldn't have to forget. The Pisanos made a great point on their podcast last week that Shinsuke Nakamura hasn't defended the IC title since September. I mean, like, I just don't. Back in the day when it was the Attitude Era and it was ruthless aggression and everything, those matches had big fight feel to them. Every Monday night on Raw, you tuned in and you didn't know what Austin was going to do. You didn't know what The Rock was going to do, or D-Generation X, or The Undertaker, or Kane, or whatever. It didn't matter. Mankind. Every episode of Raw had that huge feel to it, man. Like you just didn't know what was going to happen.
No, you're absolutely right. And when AEW first started, we thought, okay, good. No, this is going to be good for WWE. They're going to probably step their shit up. We saw it in the 90s with WCW. We're going to see it now again. This is good. Competition makes everything better. It's been the complete opposite. Raw, SmackDown, and now even NXT has been just so bad recently. It's unwatchable. It really is unwatchable.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I haven't seen War Games yet. I mean, I knew War Games was going to end with the 2.0 guys winning. It was so obvious. Like,
it was okay.
I mean, but it's just, I don't know what to say. And, like, this is one of those times where I know he's not worried, but Vince McMahon should be. Because now you're on the verge of losing Johnny Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly. We don't know where they're going to wind up. Kevin Owens is going to be good as gone in January, probably right after the pay-per-view. The whatever, what is it called? Day one?
Yeah.
But even like during Raw, they had this segment with Vince McMahon and Austin Theory that just made no sense.
Yeah.
Like it just made no sense. The whole segment made no sense throughout the whole show. And the crowd was so not into anything. And it was like you could hear it. And I had a friend of mine at the show, and even Carragher was at the show. I didn't run into him, but we were messaging each other on Facebook Messenger. But my friend Matt was like, "Man, this crowd sucks." And he was sitting with his son in like the 100 section, and there were everywhere, every section you looked, there was empty seats everywhere. And that's how Klim. There were empty seats where I was sitting, and I was sitting 4 rows from the ring.
I mean, me and my buddy was like begging me to go because he was just like, Chris, they're $20 tickets, and they were for like good seats, like really good seats. I'm just like, I was just exhausted. That's why we didn't end up going. But he was like, we were looking at ticket prices, $20 for seats for a new arena, and for decently like low seats I'm like, what is this? That's how bad the show is because that's how cheap the tickets were.
But what they need to do, quite frankly, is they've got to cut it back to 2 hours.
Yeah.
I think 3 hours is becoming a huge detriment because that's one of the things that ultimately crushed WCW was that when they moved Nitro to 3 hours, they just ran out of content. And the thing
they have to fill it with shit. Like, it's annoying.
And the thing is, though, with the draft, with the 2 brands, that's making it worse. Because now you don't have any competitors for Roman Reigns except for Brock Lesnar. And on the Raw side, you have Big E, Seth Rollins. Kevin Owens is going to take the pin in that January pay-per-view. You already know that. So, I mean, I was watching the episode and I just said, and I was talking to Keith afterwards because we were talking about it, and I said, they just don't have any type of it just seems like they put all their energy into one feud and then they do nothing else with the rest of it. Even during like the 10 women tag match that they had, Team Liv against Team Bex, it was like Bianca Belair is just walking around the whole time, flipping her, her braid. It was bad, man. It was bad. And there's not much you can say about the product. I mean, because they're letting too many good wrestlers go that are already over with the fans.
Yeah.
All the NXT guys are over with the fans. Adam Cole. You imagine Adam Cole debuting on Raw?
It's just so painful.
If you just had a surprise on Raw. I don't know, man. I don't know if Vince has just lost his fucking mind. Like, I don't know if he
know that.
care. I mean, it's really strange. Like
No,
it's
it
really, really strange how bad it's become.
No, it really is. And Andrew is here and ready to go.
All right, let's go. There he is.
How's it going?
He is one of the co-hosts of the What's Wrong with Wrestling podcast. He's one of our good friends. We are talking to, of course, Andrew Pisano. Thanks as always for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
I have to say, like, your guys' podcast has been making me laugh like every week.
I appreciate it.
And I think the reason why is because you do hands down the best Kevin Owens impersonation I've ever heard.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I win the WWE title at day one, and then I'm going to take it with me to AEW.
But, like, I was at Raw last Monday night, and every time he came on the screen, I kept thinking about your impersonation. I could not stop cracking up. I'm like, it's like watching Andrew do it. Like, it just made me laugh when he's like, well, you need to go talk to Adam Pearce because he said yes.
Yeah.
Like, I could not stop laughing.
Yeah,
Like
it's funny. It's something I didn't even realize. A lot of times with these impressions, I don't even realize I could do them until I just do it. And then it's like, oh, I might have something there.
Now, what, honest to God, like, do you watch Raw and you get so frustrated, you're just like, okay, I'm just going to do Kevin Owens, I'm, like, pissed off? Like, do you just start working on your Kevin Owens impersonation at that point, or?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, when I'm bored is usually when I practice the impressions. But yeah, especially during Raw because it's easy to get bored watching Raw.
Or I don't know which one is better though, Kevin Owens or Vinnie Mac.
Yeah, I don't know.
Vinnie
Vince McMahon though is
Vinnie Mac sounds like you when you do Vinnie Mac. It sounds like you hurt your throat or something because you like, dig deep for that one.
No, yeah, doing Vince hurts my throat. Stone Cold always hurts my throat. Because I don't know. It's like they're sick or something, or they have some sort of disease. Where, oh hell yeah, and then So it's I don't know. The Vince one, I feel everyone has the same Vince impression. You just go
and then flap your arms in the air like when he's doing the power walk.
Yeah, and you just say stupid shit, and that's all you got to do for Vince.
All right, so what did Kevin Owens think of War Games?
I watched War Games, and I think it's very obvious that Vince is out of his mind. And if he thinks Johnny Gargano is going to hang around, well, I think he's lost his marbles. Apparently, Johnny's appearing on NXT on Tuesday, so I was like, oh, crap. I guess I have to watch one more episode of NXT to hopefully see Johnny say goodbye.
I think it's him. It's the end of him and I think O'Reilly, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess O'Reilly's going to job to Von Wagner on Tuesday.
Oh, God.
What a horrible...
Such a horrible way for the both of them to go out, too, because Johnny is Mr.
So bad.
And Kyle O'Reilly has been great, but you got this bullshit singles run. It's like, come on. This is how they're ending it for these two guys? These two guys carried NXT for the past 2 years, and this is what we're getting? Come on.
Well, if it is the end for both of them, at least Gargano's getting like a promo, like a goodbye promo. O'Reilly doesn't seem like he's getting that. He's just jobbing to Von, idiot Wagner. So that guy's a robot. He's terrible.
You said it best when you're like, oh, it's like WWE thinks the fans are stupid and they don't recognize Von Wagner on SmackDown as Adam Pearce's bodyguard.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was that?
Right.
What did they do?
Like Commander Aziz like a year ago or whatever when he showed up and they're like, oh, who's that guy? It's like, what are you talking about? He was on Raw Underground.
I just saw him hanging out with Shane McMahon a week ago.
And he had a different name. Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous.
Oh my God. It's just so...
I think it's just Vince forgot, didn't realize he was a different person. He's like, oh, who's that guy? He was the star of Raw Underground, and he's like, oh, I don't remember any of that shit. So, Aziz, you're Commander Aziz.
Now, when I was at Raw, and it was like the crowd was dead.
Yeah.
How did it translate when you guys were watching it on TV? Like, did it sound like you could hear a pin drop in that arena, or was it?
No, I mean, I've noticed that they're still plugging in some chants here and there.
It has to be,
yeah,
because it was like, I'm not kidding. Like, the only two wrestlers that really got a little bit of a pop were Seth when he first came out to open the show,
Yeah.
and then when Becky Lynch came out.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else after that was really quiet, and even when the Street Profits came out, you could hear a pin drop in the arena.
Right. Yeah.
Profits came out.
I've noticed a lot of times too, like when they'll do a backstage segment and they'll show someone that they want to get a big pop and it's not there, but then like a second later they just they hit some applause button, and then it's too loud and you could tell it's fake. It's like, yeah, this was not an organic pop at all.
Because even when Balor came out to open against Rollins, it was quiet. It wasn't really like that big fight, crowd going crazy. Like Klim, when you went to the show at Madison Square Garden, that was, you could tell that place was
packed. It was packed there that night. That was a great show because it was fantastic. Great overall storylines that day. Great matches. Arena was packed. I was drunk off my ass, so it was overall.
That helps.
Amazing.
Yeah,
it definitely helps.
That helps.
It definitely helps. I told my friends on the train ride in. I was like, I gotta get plastered drunk because that's the only way this will be enjoyable. And it was enjoyable either way, drunk or not drunk. But still, it helps.
But you got to be crazy drunk to enjoy Happy Corbin, right, Club?
Oh, God. Man, they were so close with that guy, weren't they?
They had the opportunity to make him a face, to kind of like this. I realized I was a dick.
Yeah.
And then they just brought him back as just even a worse character than King.
Yeah.
It was
Man, that guy has had some of the crappiest gimmicks, hasn't he? And so many gimmicks. First he shows up, he's Baron Corbin. Then he's Constable Corbin.
Yeah.
Oh God,
then
he was the King
Corbin. And that was over 2 years of him as the King. And it was it went on way too long. Before that, he had the Money in the Bank briefcase, and they ruined that. He got rolled up by Jinder Mahal. Embarrassed by John Cena at SummerSlam, embarrassed by Balor the following year at SummerSlam. The guy just gets humiliated so much. Do they like this guy or what? And then broke Corbin, and then Rich Corbin again, or Happy Corbin, whatever that.
And Madcap Moss.
Madcap Moss, yeah. And they're from the 40s.
Yeah, they're a part
1940s.
They hang out at speakeasies.
Yeah. Now look here, say, at least someone should be doing that, talking like that. I don't know.
It's like they're gonna make creative faction called the Prohibition or something like that.
Yeah, that's what they do. They just smuggle in alcohol. And it's like, guys, it's legal. What are you doing? They're just lost. Somehow their brains got lost in the 1920s or whatever. I don't know. It's terrible.
So do you think that NXT should have went with something of more maybe the old guard should have won War Games? It's kind of because in some ways it almost feels like they're force feeding you the new regime right down your throat. They tend to do all the time.
Well, yeah, I mean I guess that was the point of it. I mean, when we were watching it, we knew it was going to be new school. I mean, it was. They were saying, it's 2.0 versus Black and Gold. It's like, okay, well, Black and Gold's dead. It's gone. So now it's the rainbow colors. So we knew rainbow kids were going to win. And Braun Breaker came out with an even more ridiculous outfit. I honestly don't get Braun Breaker. I don't know. I've heard a lot of people like him. I don't know. He just seems like a guy. I think if you let him keep his Steiner name, that would have been interesting. I don't understand why they didn't give him the Steiner name, but he's doing all the Steiner things.
Yeah,
he's barking like his dad. He's flexing like his uncle, and he's doing all their moves.
Yeah, he literally did a move during War Games yesterday, and I think it was Barrett who was like, "Oh, Rick Steiner." I'm like, what? Just make him a Steiner,
yeah. He does the Frankensteiner. I mean, I don't get it. Yeah.
Please me, if there's one person I can't stand on commentary, it's Wade Barrett. That's a tough listen for 3 hours.
Oh, for me, it's Vic Joseph. Because
the thing about Vic Joseph is, the one thing I don't like is every time there's a big move, he goes, "Oh."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's what I pointed out too. Oh. I mean, it sounds like he's having an orgasm every time there's a decent move that's hit.
Every time there's a move, he's like, "Oh."
I can't. Oh, that's the exact noise he makes. I can't. It's awful. I know Beth Phoenix is leaving. I wish Vic Joseph would be replaced. Isn't Tom Phillips still with the company? Like, and he just hasn't been.
I thought he got let go like a while ago. It's like one of the many future endeavors.
I thought like he just got pulled from commentary, but he's still like a backstage producer or something. It's like he's better than Vic Joseph, and anytime Vic Joseph doesn't know a move, he just goes up and down. It's like,
well, whatever happened to Nigel McGuinness? Like, I know he was never released, but like
he's on NXT UK now.
That's where he's at.
Yeah. He's like the color guy for NXT UK.
What
was the name of the guy that was what's his name? Like Adnan, the guy who was he was only there, he worked for ESPN, but he was only there for like
Adnan Virk.
That's right. When he said, when Braun Strowman would do his train thing and he goes, "We're gonna need a bigger boat."
That's right.
He was.
Yeah, that was terrible. He lasted like I think 4 weeks, and then Vince was like, eh. And Jimmy Smith is much better, there. But I still don't understand why they feel they need like an ESPN guy there. It's like Jimmy Smith. Who is he even? Like
where was
he was a UFC guy?
He's
when
a UFC guy, yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay.
And they say like Vince doesn't want the show to be UFC, but I don't know. It sure seems like they do.
I mean, what just cracks me up sometimes about the whole thing is that, for example, Edge comes out and we're like, Edge is, and I was sitting right by where Edge came out. So it was like awesome to see him come running out and they do the pyro and everything.
Yeah.
And he's building it up and building it up and building it up. And I'm like, oh, it's got to be somebody good. And then it's The Miz.
I know.
And I was like, oh, God. And I looked and I was like, man, that is so disappointing.
Yeah.
Like, not get more disappointing than that.
I mean, Edge has to be disappointed. Not that he doesn't like The Miz in real life or working with him, but it's like he's already done that.
Yeah.
Like, didn't he come back so that he could fight new people?
Yeah.
That he hasn't fought yet? Like, I don't know, Kevin Owens, who's probably leaving, so we're never going to get Edge versus Kevin Owens now.
Yeah, like, or, I mean, when The Miz came out, I go, oh, this is so bad. And it's like Maurice, and it's like, okay, so I guess that's the new wrinkle. It's like, let's put Maurice back again. And I was so disappointed when The Miz came out, and like apparently so was everybody else in the arena. Like all 50 of us in the arena were just like,
like I didn't want to see. I don't want to see that match because what is this 2010? We don't need this anymore.
You've seen it,
but yeah. Exactly. Like, I mean, I'm happy heel Miz is back. Like, he's not a doofus with John Morris anymore.
Right.
But give me Edge with someone else. Give me Miz in the main event. I mean, not the main event, the mid-card title. Because that when he was his best, when he had the mid-card title. But now we're getting this stupid shit with him. It's crazy. It's insane.
Yeah, and you mentioned John Morrison, R.I.P. John Morrison. His future endeavored. But no, like, if they don't do Edge versus AJ Styles at WrestleMania, I think that would be a huge disappointment. I think you got to do that.
I mean, look, they're doing it on AEW correctly with CM Punk. He's fighting all these young guys, Darby Allin, now MJF. Yeah. That's what they should be doing with Edge right now, fighting all these young guys, or at least AJ Styles to an extent, because it's shit we haven't seen and we would love to see. But
give us that dream match. Give us that dream match. You got to get Styles away from Omos by then. But that's the thing about Omos is as soon as he like him and AJ Styles break up or whatever, it's pretty much over for Omos because the guy really just doesn't have any talent. He's like a little more mobile than the great Khali, but that's not saying much. I mean, it's like what could you do with him? There's no personality. He can't wrestle like Andre the Giant. Like that's I just don't see it. I don't know.
I mean, like the one thing that cracked me up was AJ Styles comes out, and I was like, okay, I've been out of the loop on Raw. Why is he blind?
Yeah.
I was like, why? I go, is this really? And here's the funny part about the whole thing. So you've been to Raw, so you know that during the break, you see the wrestlers kind of quietly go to up the ramp or go another area. So we were, my daughter and I were sitting like a few rows from ringside, and the AJ Styles segment had finished, and AJ Styles and Omos happened to, instead of going up the ramp, wound up walking kind of like they climbed over the railing, and they walked through the crowd.
Yeah.
AJ Styles looked so pissed off. Like he was like, man, like he had this look on his face, literally like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Right.
Like I've never like, and I mean, like I know that sometimes I got to stay in character, or maybe it was, I couldn't really tell, but it was like he was like, I'm such a great technical wrestler, and I'm resort to playing a blind guy next to a 7-foot black dude.
Right.
I mean, I just said it was such a waste of AJ Styles' talent.
It definitely is. You could be putting in all these classics, having great feuds. I think what killed him was like when he was champ. The rumors say that he told Vince like, I don't want to be the champ anymore because I want to spend more time, with my kids. I don't want to have to be responsible to going to every single show and everything like that. And Vince is like, okay, fine. You don't want to be the champ? Great. Like I'll just bury you then. And yeah. So that's how it is. That's how it is.
I think he's a little, pissed to an extent where he sees, his quote unquote friends like Kenny and the Bucks and Adam Cole and all these guys who wrestled in New Japan, getting good storylines over in AEW, and he's sitting there like, yeah, I'm blind, so it's okay.
It's like imagine you're AJ Styles and you hear that pitch, like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have the Street Profits shoot you with a fire extinguisher, and you're gonna be blind. What do you think?
Oh wait. Oh, okay. So the Street Profits turn heel, and I'm a babyface then, I guess, or because they used a weapon on me for no reason.
And you're gonna have a 7-foot black guy that's gonna stand there and do nothing.
Yeah,
he's gonna stand there. Like it. Even if they break up the tag team, is it like really that big of a deal to break up Styles and Omos? Like, is it really that big of a wow? What a difference, or like what a game changer? Like,
yeah.
Right?
And what does Omos do after that? Like he'll probably challenge for the WWE title maybe, and he'll lose, or they could give him the US title, I guess. But I don't see much happening. Just I don't know. Someone like him, just give him the 24/7 title, and just
Well, you made a good point. You're like Dana Brooke comes down with the 24/7 title, and not one person decides to roll her up.
No one wants it. There's 7 other women in that match. There's 7 other women out there. And I think that's all the women in the show on Raw. Yeah.
That's pretty much the roster.
She's like, okay, I don't have to worry about this. Great. No one's going to touch me. Awesome. I'm a champion for life.
Like,
speaking of, I was going to say, speaking of the women's roster, how excited were you guys when Nia Jax got her release?
Oh, man, that was...
I think every wrestler on the roster was excited because they knew because they were good. They're afraid they were going to get hurt.
Kyrie Sane was like, finally, justice. Justice for killing me like a year or two ago, wherever that was. That one was justified because she's terrible. She's so
she was like barely moved around the ring. It was just that was and then like every wrestler was complaining that she was working like stiff, like she was.
Yep. I'll never forget this one. I don't know if you call it a botch, but like she was just improvising in this match with Asuka. She grabbed Asuka from behind, like held her up, and then Nia just spun around and then just let Asuka go. And like even commentary was like, "Oh, what's this?" And it's like, "Yeah, what is this? What are you doing?" She's awful. Yeah,
so bad.
They got that one right, dropping her. That was a good one.
But it was like you made a good point on your podcast with you and Joe when you said that there's just no continuity, that there's no really consistent storytelling. So during Raw, for example, I get like this is where they really have to cut it back to 2 hours.
Yeah,
because I think they're going the way that WCW went with Nitro, when they just ran out of stuff to do, and it was just these endless segments or just these endless NWO segments. It's just going to keep being that way because you can really see, especially with the brand split, they're really struggling for content for 3 hours.
Oh yeah.
And at one point I was like sitting there and it was like, oh, the Mysterios are coming out. I was like, and then all of a sudden Shelton Benjamin, I was like, they're together.
Right.
I was completely like, and then I'm saying to myself, but I thought the Mysterios were working on a feud, not a feud, but the story where Ray's interfering too much and Dominic's going to eventually turn on him. But they're like the most cohesive tag team in this match against Shelton Benjamin
That storyline's been coming for like over a year now. Like we thought it was going to happen with the Seth Rollins feud, and then no, and then like after the Usos, no. Yeah, it's like, when are they going to get to this already? Because we're done with them, like, as a tag team. They won the tag titles. They held it for like a month or two, and
yeah,
we're done with them. It's enough.
And then like the big selling point was Roman Reigns for the Raw show, but he wasn't even on Raw, unless I missed it. But he was in the dark match.
Yeah, he wasn't on the show, no.
Because they were teasing something during the dark match where like Seth was walking to the back, and Roman came out as Seth was walking to the back.
Right.
They kind of had words as they were walking, and then Seth walked away.
Right.
So like the early rumor is he could be the favorite to win the Rumble and challenge Roman at WrestleMania or whatever.
That was my prediction like a few months ago, was that Seth fights Reigns at Mania. I don't know if I guess Seth could win the Rumble again. I'd rather him do it another way. But now they're really pushing, like, now that WrestleMania is 2 nights, and I guess it's going to be that way going forward. But now that WrestleMania is 2 nights, now they can really say, like, if you win the Rumble, you main event WrestleMania, because
it's 2 nights.
It's 2 nights.
You just pick which you want to main event, Saturday or Sunday.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it'll always, of course, be Reigns on Sunday.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, if and when Kyle O'Reilly goes over to AEW, do you think he goes right into a tag team with Bobby Fish, or you think he does single shit for a while?
I would guess he hooks up with Bobby Fish, and they're also teasing Adam Cole like breaking up the Super Elite, right? I mean, they've been teasing that.
Yeah,
with Omega's like, hey, I'm gonna leave, and Adam Cole's like, hey, I got this, Kenny, it's cool, and Kenny's like, well, I wasn't talking to you, and he's like, oh, haha. So they're teasing some sort of breakup. I don't know exactly what they can do with that. If they want to put Cole, Fish, and O'Reilly together and do some sort of Undisputed Era thing that's not the Undisputed Era, I don't know. Like, that's a tricky situation, I think, because you don't just want to straight up copy what you did on NXT, right, because it's a different company. So I don't know. Plus, it's going to be hard to beat the Undisputed Era theme song if they have a stable with music. Oh. But
I mean,
that's the sad thing, is we're never going to hear that song again.
Yeah,
so good.
The system.
And then when they broke up and Adam Cole had his new music, like it was like a crappy ripoff of the Undisputed Era in NXT. Like it was terrible.
But wouldn't it make sense to build if Kyle O'Reilly does go to AEW? Wouldn't it make sense for him to just restart the feud with Adam Cole instead of joining forces with him?
I guess that would, yeah. But then I don't know. Are you gonna just go with the whole NXT canon stuff? I don't know. That's a good point. I guess if they care about like continuing WWE storylines in AEW, I certainly wouldn't want to see Cole and O'Reilly again. We saw that like enough in NXT. We saw them have like a trilogy of matches. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do. I'm more curious like where Johnny Gargano is going to fit if he goes to AEW, because he's just he's not. And as much as I love him, he's just not as popular, as big as Adam Cole is. So I don't know that he'll get shot right to like the top of the show like Adam Cole did. You know what I mean? Like,
no, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like they could have, like, and I was texting one of my buddies this, and he pointed it out really clearly. Like they could have easily had Johnny Gargano be like another Daniel Bryan in the WWE, have him come up, win the Rumble, face Roman at Mania, and then Johnny takes the title off of Roman. Like they could have easily done that, but they chose not. They're choosing not to. Obviously,
you saying that I mean, it's like. That's so unlikely. It's like, yeah, and then you win the lotto, like, and then we win the lottery. It's like it's like there's no way on earth that would ever.
Oh, happen. I know. In a perfect world, it would.
In a perfect world, yeah, sure, but like that's crazy. I mean,
no, I know.
There's no way Vince would ever go for that, unfortunately. But
right now, like if you're Gargano or even O'Reilly, would you automatically go to AEW? And when you become a free agent, knowing full well that they're so loaded right now, like it's a very top-heavy roster now, especially when you throw Punk in the mix and Bryan Danielson and everything. knowing full well that it's going to take you a while to get to that, maybe to a big feud?
Yeah.
Or do you think you just automatically go there because they're the first federation that is interested in you?
I think it beats chasing after the 24/7 title.
Touche.
And I think, like, you know what I mean? And I think it beats wearing a gimp mask to the ring, like Karrion Kross. I mean, I think, yeah, it's obvious. Like, how could you possibly stick around in WWE? And apparently WWE really wants to re-sign Gargano. I'm sure that's Triple H that really wants to keep him. But how could you trust? I mean, I'm sure Gargano feels like he could trust Triple H, but he can't trust Vince McMahon. What will Vince do? He'll probably call up Gargano and O'Reilly to be a tag team together on SmackDown. And then, like, you know, you'll have Michael Cole going like, oh, yeah, these guys are best friends. These guys have been best friends for 10 years. And it's like, whoa, what? Like Shotzi and Knox, they were called up as a tag team. And they were like, yeah, they were best friends in NXT. It's like, huh? What are we talking? What is this? Like,
it's like, this is news to us. We didn't know this. We've been watching NXT the whole time. They didn't tell us once this.
Yeah, like no, not at all.
But then again, this is WWE that they had Natalya and Tamina as tag team champions, and they never won.
Oh, God, that was terrible. That was so bad.
But you guys came up with one of the best names for something. Like when a wrestler disappears, you call it Thanos.
Yeah, Thanos.
Like, that was one of the best names ever. Because when you first said that, I had actually just watched Avengers.
Okay.
I just watched Avengers. What's Infinity War?
Infinity War, yeah.
When, like, he snaps his fingers, and it's like, and you never saw Tegan Knox again, and then she was future endeavor.
That's it.
It's like the kiss of death.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think Gargano and O'Reilly should just go to AEW. I think their future is better there than what would happen to them on the main roster. I just hope it's not, they just don't treat Gargano like he's Tony Nese or something, where he's sitting in the crowd for like 2 months, you know, and then like, I mean, they're treating Tony Nese better than I feel like he deserves.
Oh yeah, the hottest
Long Island boy, but yeah.
The hottest free agent. Are we looking at the same free agent list? Like,
how dare they say that when Bray Wyatt is out there?
Yeah.
What the hell are they talking about? Yeah, Bray Wyatt and Tony Nese. It's right here. Like, come on, it's ridiculous.
Every time a new guy goes into NXT or whatever, they say, "Oh, he's the hottest free agent on the market." They did it with LA Knight, which I hate that name.
Oh yeah,
Eli Drake.
Yeah,
Eli Drake is a 10th. I hate LA Knight.
I don't get it. Like, it seems like he's so close to being good. Like, when he cuts a promo, you're like, okay, he's almost there. Oh, he's almost, and then he goes, yeah, and then it's like, he lost it now. It's like he almost has it. Like, there's like some times where he looks like he could be good, but then he just loses you.
Why was he on the black and gold team?
I don't know.
He's been here for like 3 months. Like, what the fuck?
He's team old school just because he's old. That's it.
Yeah. They needed a fifth.
Yeah.
Kyle O'Reilly was occupied, so they had no one else. And Dexter Lumis was not there. It was because he was part of the injury angle.
Right. That whole thing is weird, how, like, Breaker just turned heel for no reason. He's hanging out with Tony Baloney. Like, what? That I hate that him as well. I hate that so
gimmick.
Much.
That gimmick it's been done so many times that
I guess he's just Tony Soprano right after Many Saints of Newark. Like,
yeah. it's like pre-Brooklyn Brawler.
Yeah, and every time he mentions someone, it's someone from the Soprano show.
Yeah.
Oh
like,
yeah.
He always he's like, oh yeah, my friend Christopher, or my girlfriend Carmela. It's like, oh god, yeah, it's so bad.
It's like, yeah, he's part of this. He just shouldn't name himself Tony Soprano. That's what he should have just named himself at this fucking point.
Yeah.
Like, it's like Craig just said, they've done this so many times. This gimmick, it's failed every single time.
It just seems like now, and like the one thing I picked up from Raw when I went last week was they seem to focus all their attention on like one feud.
Yeah.
Like, so they'll focus it on the Big E feud with Seth, and then Kevin Owens is now involved. Mm-hmm. And the rest of the card just kind of suffers. So when you see matches like when they did Street Profits against Alpha Academy, I was like, I don't understand why this match is even taking place.
Well, that's for which one? That was the 20th time I think they fought this year.
It's like, after rematch.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, and then the women's like 10 women tag match it felt like it was going on forever.
Yeah.
It felt like it went on so long. And like every time Tamina comes out, the first thing I say to myself is, they're really trying to make her a thing, aren't they?
Oh my God.
Like, they're trying so hard to like make her into something, and it never works. And she always looks like a terrible wrestler.
I think Vince just feels guilty about Jimmy Snuka or something, and that's why he's doing this. I mean,
like, just,
yeah.
It's like her and Natalia. It's like, they're not good. Stop putting them on the show because they have a Hart and Snuka last name. Like,
yeah. And Natalia cannot be a heel. Like, she's bad in general, but like making her a heel is just even worse.
They've tried that so many times, and it's never worked. And then they move her right into a babyface role for like 2 weeks, and then she becomes a heel again.
Yeah, it was like turned more than Big Show, I think.
I was just about to say.
But like, and then like, it's like I said the same thing about Sheamus. It's like when they do Sheamus, when he's a heel, when he's a face, he's pumping his chest. And then he's like, again, he's like something out of Peaky Blinders when he's a heel, and like they always try to reinvent him, and it never works.
I never liked Sheamus. But back to Italian Tamina, they won the tag titles. That was a babyface moment. They were baby faces, and then a few weeks later, they show up and they're heels for no reason. Like, they're just heels now. Like, they didn't have a heel turn. They just showed up to Raw or SmackDown that week, and now they're heels. And it was just like, where did this come from? Like,
they've absolutely ruined the women's tag titles. Okay. Like, it's like they give it to no credit. Like, when they first came out with the women's tag titles, you had legit tag teams. You had the Iconics. You had Mandy and Sonya. You had Sasha and Bayley. You had legit tag teams. And now it's like, oh, let's, Tamina and Natalia, they have two, they're a legacy. Let's put them together. Or Alexa and Nikki, they drink coffee. Let's put them together. Like it makes no sense.
And there's no other. They don't even have any other tag teams, right? Like,
no.
There's
it's just putting singles wrestlers together. They don't even.
Carmella and Vega are the tag champs now. The only other tag team. The only other women's tag team in WWE is Rhea and Nikki. That's it. There's no other.
And they're not even a real tag team. They're like, oh, you know what? We got nothing else for Rhea and Nikki.
When they had Shotzi, they should have paired her with Ember Moon when they were a tag team in NXT.
Right.
And then, or even when they had Tegan Nox, if they would have kept Tegan Nox and paired her with Dakota Kai.
Sure.
And just put them back together. Like, just find a way to build it where they get back as a tag team and they start going for the belts.
Right.
Because they were actually a really good tag team when they were together. I mean, Dakota Kai is a great heel. Like, I love her as a heel.
Yeah.
But you know that if she goes to the main roster, they're going to do nothing with her.
Of course.
And she's going to be paired with, like, they could pick like a random wrestler for her to be a tag team with.
Yeah. Well, same thing with Io. When Io goes up to the main roster, yeah, I know. Who are they going to bring back? They're going to bring back Asuka, who's also failed since being on the main roster, and they're going to put them together because you know why? Because they're best friends and they're Japanese.
Io walks in the room and Vince is like, "Oh, welcome back, Kyrie." They're like, "Oh no, Vince, no, yeah, we're going to put Kyrie and Asuka back together. Welcome back. Go out there. You're attacked. Yeah."
That's what it's going to be. That's exactly how it's going to be.
Pirate outfit. I love the pirate outfit. Where is it? That's another thing. That's another thing about AEW is I really want some of the talented women in WWE to go to AEW because AEW needs it. They really need some talented women. They could really use Io Shirai. I love Io.
Their women's division is not that good outside of Britt Baker. It's not the most interesting group of wrestlers.
Yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised when Shida and Serena Deeb had their like Bret Hart match where it was like all like it was like a tribute to Bret Hart. I thought that was really good. Mm-hmm. But yeah, for the most part, not so much. No.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not like
that TBS tournament is pretty rough to watch sometimes.
Isn't that like I was gonna say that because they maybe have like 5 good wrestlers, including Baker, and then the rest is hot garbage.
Oh yeah, yeah. Nyla Rose is just is just basically Nia Jax. It's like they're Nia Jax. She's terrible.
All right, I need to talk to Kevin Owens again real quick.
Okay.
So we have, let's say there's NXT talent that sees Kevin Owens and like, oh my God, KO, and they ask for advice.
Yeah.
On life in the WWE, and I need to talk to Kevin Owens, and I need Kevin Owens to give this person, wrestler X.
I'll revert back to an old meme going from like, if you remember Billy Madison when the kid's like, I can't wait till I go to high school, but it's like I can't wait till I go to the main roster, and Kevin Owens is like, no, stay here. Stay here as long as you can. For the love of God, cherish it. And then when your time's up, go to AEW. Follow me. I'm going over there. Yeah. That used to be the thing, but now NXT's just as bad to watch. I mean, I think NXT now is actually the worst of their shows, and I can't believe those words come out of my mouth.
I mean, I read a story, I think it was like a few weeks ago, that basically said that whoever's on NXT's like new wrestlers are basically going to have 6 months to prove that they belong, or there's going to be peace.
Right.
I mean, that's just a revolving door of wrestlers at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what is the point? Like, why even try to bring in wrestlers at this point?
Right.
But like, I just don't understand. Like, is it just that Vince just likes big guys at this point? Like, because he didn't believe Adam Cole would be a big star when he was already over with the WWE crowd.
Right.
Gargano is over with the WWE crowd. If you put the Way on like Raw or SmackDown, they're going to get a huge pop.
Mm-hmm.
And then like all of a sudden, even a faction that was getting some push was Hit Row, and then they just got
holy God.
They got a video on SmackDown. You never saw them again. Like that. I mean,
apparently they offended Jinder Mahal, so they had to fire them. That was my favorite rumor. I was like, what the hell are you talking? You think Jinder Mahal has a stroke that he can get a whole faction fired? Are you people insane? That was some of these rumors. They're too much. But I think it was funny that Jinder Mahal and Shanky like roasted them, and then all of a sudden they got Thanos.
You got to do Shanky.
Ice, yeah.
Shanky, ice, Shanky, ice, Shanky.
That's not how the song goes. Good God.
But it's again, you got like Craig, you just mentioned, like they've been like the one thing NXT had going for it is like it gave like the smaller guys like the Garganos, the Coles, the Ciampas, Finn Balor, all these like Sami Zayn to an extent, all these small guys who we know would never get a push on the main roster.
Yeah,
got to push on the main roster on NXT. It's like, okay, like trying to like maybe prove to Vince like, hey, these guys can go. Like these are very talented wrestlers. And then to the extent, except for Rollins, Reigns, Kevin Owens, everyone who's been brought up after them has never gotten a push.
Yeah,
never.
And that's why they got to go to AEW, because AEW loves small guys. It's the land of small guys. They won't even sign Braun Strowman. They're like, yeah, you're too tall. Sorry. Which I think they should have. Like, I think they should have signed Braun Strowman. He could have been a great monster heel. Lance Archer hasn't really worked out.
Yeah.
So, but that's what I think is going to eventually happen, because AEW, a lot of guys are just going to kind of shake. It's almost like they're all going to just kind of shake away, like a lot of the like Brian Cage and Lance Archer, and those are the guys that Vince is going to bring in. Because
Lance Archer will be wearing Karrion Kross's gimp mask.
Like, see, Karrion Kross is here. We always said he was going to be back. It's like the Diesel and Diesel Ramon segment, when Jim Ross was like, I'm going to bring out the bad guy. And it's like Razor Ramon 30 pounds heavier than what he was.
And no charisma. Yeah, that was.
I mean, but in your opinion, with AEW, do you think that they're going to run into a bit of a wall trying to get guys like Punk? Because Punk is going to eventually want to have a title run, and all these guys, all these big names they're bringing in are going to want a run with the belt eventually. Or do you think AEW is going to really run into like a booking issue, like somewhere down the road? Or do you think that Punk is content with just doing once a week or twice a week on Dynamite and Rampage and wrestling whoever he wants as long as he wins or whatever?
I mean, right now Punk is feuding with MJF, and that's the best thing in AEW. It's the best thing in wrestling right now. So I think right for now he's fine. But yeah, it's got to be sooner than later. I mean, Bryan Danielson's getting the title shot in next week?
Yeah,
but he can't be winning.
Nah, not so quickly after they just put the belt on Hank.
It'll be interesting to see what they do because I don't think they want to give. Maybe they do want to give Paige like a clean victory on Bryan just to really put over Paige.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we'll see, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, they already kind of are at that booking wall just because they have so much talent.
Especially in the women's division, and in their women's division, they've definitely hit a wall there. I mean, because they had Ruby come up, and then Ruby lost to Britt Baker, and now I don't know who the number one contender is. And
well, Ruby's probably winning the TBS title. I would think.
It's the worst name for a title. I know.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's. I think she is though, because again, AEW doesn't like tall people, and Jade Cargill's tall, so I don't think Jade's. I would give it to Jade just because I think she looks great. I think she could. I think she needs a title to elevate her.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're going to give it to Ruby, and that's fine. I mean, I like Ruby too, but
I was to say a little story time for me today. Go sign up at our local gym. Guys, give me a tour of the gym. Who do I see lifting weights in there? Maxwell Jacob Friedman himself. He is not a big guy at all. He is small. Yeah. He's a small dude, and he's not even like jacked at all. I'm like, I called my friend immediately. I was like, yo, you'll never guess who I saw. MJF. I was like, he's tiny. He's like, oh, you must have been like towering over him at the gym. I was like, yeah. He's probably like 5'8", 5'9". And just 180 pounds. I'm like, this dude's a small guy. He looks like on TV.
That was like when I saw Andrade in person when we were in New Orleans for WrestleMania. It was 2018, and we were in this bar. I mean, we told the story in the podcast, but we were in this one bar where all of a sudden all the wrestlers were going to EC3 was there. EC3 is a short guy too, but he is jacked. But Andrade was like. For me, it was like a little kid. It was crazy. I mean, he's so short. He's like 5'6", maybe. He's
he doesn't look that short on TV, man.
No, he looks big because he's got some muscle, but he was so short in person. And then Eric asked him for a photo, and he said no. And then 30 seconds later, Andrade's taking pictures with chicks, and it's like, yeah. And Eric was like, what? And I'm like, you're not a hot chick, Eric. But yeah, Charlotte must have to pick him up to give him a kiss. Well, I guess not anymore. But
they broke up.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, I was just busting my friend's chops. I'm gonna go up to MJF while he's at the gym. I'll be like,
no,
that's all you're lifting. That's all you're lifting, cuz just start cutting promos.
Anyway, even though he's gonna, you figure he's gonna stay in character, right? That would be a great. Just have him roast you or something.
I just remember he stepped on my foot at an indie show. And
you stepped on my foot.
We were walking into we were in this little small room where the wrestlers are doing autographs and selling T-shirts.
Yeah,
and it was tight. And I was walking through and I didn't even recognize him. The guy in front of me, I guess he went to lean back a little bit. He stepped right on my foot, and he turned around, and I was like, "It's MJF."
Uh-huh.
I was like, I'm not going to say a word because this guy's going to probably call me every name in the book and tell me how great he is and how I'm just like a piece of shit and everything. So I just kind of ignored him. I was like, I was like, that was my MJF highlight of is him stepping on my foot. But one of my favorite WWE stories was I was flying back from Virginia visiting family. It was a New Year's Eve.
Uh-huh. And
we were taking a really early flight, and there was the line to get through security was insane. And it was like 6 o'clock in the morning, and we couldn't figure out why. And then all of a sudden, I'm looking around, and I see, and the first wrestler I saw was the Great Khali, and I was like, holy shit, that's the Great Khali. And my dad has no idea who. I was like, who the fuck is that?
Right.
And I keep going, and I'm like, what's the problem? So all the way at the front of the line is Mark Henry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now Mark Henry is not a tall guy.
Yeah,
he's definitely short. He's not super short, but he's definitely a lot short. He's just wide.
Yeah,
and he could not walk through the security thing straight.
Of course,
he had to walk sideways. It was a weird diagonal, and I'm like, And I was like, and I looked at and I was like, there's fucking Mark Henry. And then I just remembered that SmackDown had been in, I think it was in Virginia, I guess, in Richmond or something. That's pretty much where I was. I was near there.
Uh-huh.
And I remember I saw Rey Mysterio, and I only recognized Rey Mysterio from one day watching WCW.
Right.
He didn't have his mask.
Yeah.
That was the only way I would have recognized Rey Mysterio, because I remember that episode specifically. We saw like Kelly. We saw a guy. We must have saw like 30 different wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest dick of them all was Taz.
Of course.
Taz, it was the biggest dick I've ever met in my life. He's just a complete asshole. Like, he's a 100% asshole. It was him. We landed at the air in New York, and we were on like they were still doing construction, which was like never ending at airports in New York. So we had to take this bus to get to the other terminal to go meet our bags and everything and all that stuff. And we were on this bus with Taz and Joey Styles. And Joey Styles was awesome. Like, we were talking to him for a few minutes and everything. Taz wanted like no part of talking to like anybody. He just looked like such a miserable prick. Like,
that makes sense. Yeah.
Like, he just always looks like a miserable prick when you like see him on interviews, when you see him, and everything. That was probably one of the coolest times ever, just seeing all those WWE guys like getting on a plane. They were going home, like they were done. Like, there was no show scheduled, because that was, I think it was even a tape show, because they never really air live on New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve and all those shows.
Yeah.
And then, but like, seeing them all in the airport was like crazy. Like, it was like one of the coolest things like ever.
Yeah.
That was one of the coolest things for me.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So I personally have one more question, and it's a Hollywood hogwash question.
Okay.
So, it's more than all likely at this point that we're going to get Toby and Andrew in the new Spider-Man movie.
Absolutely.
On the slight chance that they're not in this movie, first of all, what are the chances? And second of all, how bad would the blue balls be that Marvel would give us if they're just not in this movie? Because all signs are pointing to them being in this movie.
There's no way they're not in the movie. I mean, I can't say 100% but I would say 99.9. I mean, there's no way. Like, everyone would riot if they're not. Like, when the rumors first came out that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield could be in this movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if it wasn't true at the time, Marvel was like, "Oh crap! You see these rumors that everyone's expecting them to? Okay, I guess we better put them in the movie then." Like, yeah, I mean, it's definitely happening for sure. Like, especially with all the interview, like Tobey Maguire's, I guess he hasn't been going anywhere. He's been pretty quiet, but Andrew Garfield's been out there promoting other movies, and they keep asking him about it, and he's being really, really coy. But yeah, no, it's happening for sure. It's gonna be great.
So this is my last request.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So I need to talk to Vince and Kevin now. And here's what we're gonna do.
Okay.
I need Vince to do like a little farewell speech to Kevin Owens, and I need Kevin Owens to talk about, just say a few words before leaving for AEW or New Japan, let's say.
Okay. So Owens is going to AEW and Vince. All right. So, all right. Well, Kevin, you've had a pretty nice career here in WWE. I heard that you're thinking about leaving us and going to play wrestle with your best friends over in that other show, AEWE. It's AEW. It's AEW, Mr. McMahon. Yeah, whatever. Anyways, we have a really nice offer for you. I just want to read it for you real quick. We're gonna up your pay. We're gonna give you double pay. So what you were making right now, you're gonna make double that. You're basically getting the Brock Lesnar deal. Here we go, and we're gonna have you roll up Dana Brooke to become the new 24/7 champion. And then I'm also gonna give you my egg. You're gonna steal my egg. How does that sound? I appreciate the offer, Vince, and double pay sounds really good. AEW is not offering me anywhere near that amount, but I think just for my sanity, I'm going to have to say goodbye and go fuck yourself.
Oh my gosh, that was great.
Guy
Oh
should have won the
man,
Rumble. Guy should have won the Rumble. One of those Rumbles he should have won.
he definitely should have won. I mean, just criminally underused. That's all I can really say. I mean, but you could say that about any person on that roster right now.
2016, we had Kevin Owens as Universal Champ with Chris Jericho on his side.
Yeah.
Not bad. Even if the rest of the show sucked, at least we had that.
Well, we couldn't have ended it on a better note, Andrew. But thanks again for coming on our show as always. Say hi to Joe and Eric for us.
Absolutely.
And,
Thank you for having me.
Looking forward to your podcast again this week because I don't even watch Raw anymore, like Roman Reigns.
I don't watch.
But I don't watch Raw. I just listen to your podcast, and I know it's a crappy show from the minute you go, hey everyone.
Yeah.
Right. Joe is ready to spit nails, man. Sometimes, like before you guys even get started, it's hilarious.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks again for coming on our show, man. It's always awesome talking to you guys, and we can't wait to have you guys on again in the near future. All right.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, take care, Andrew.
See you later.
All right. Oh man, that is the one and only Andrew Pisano, one of the co-hosts of one of the best podcasts right now on Apple and Spotify, the What's Wrong with Wrestling podcast. You could check it out. New episodes every Wednesday. Subscribe to it. Subscribe to their Patreon. $5 a month gets you NXT recaps, AEW recaps. They do live streams of the pay-per-views?
I don't think live streams, but they do, review it immediately after.
Of all the pay-per-views. I mean, and
tons of brackets.
And it's just one of the funniest podcasts you're ever gonna. If you're a wrestling fan, and I know they have a ton of followers. Klim is wearing one of their T-shirts.
Pizza.
So
I'm so like, we talk about guys who we've been friends with for now, who come on the podcast now. Jake, Ike, Jamie, Taylor at this point. And Andrew's been with Andrew and the What's Wrong with Wrestling guys have been with us since the Bohemia days. It's
Bohemia days.
I'm not even mentioning that name on the show. I'm not plugging on the podcasts, but yeah, they've been here. They were to this day still our only in studio guests that we have ever had.
One thing I love about those guys is that when they came into town for Mania, they didn't have to drive all the way out there to come hang out with us. And
such a far ride too.
I mean, they were in Brooklyn. I mean, that's all you need to know. I live right by Brooklyn. Okay. To go from Brooklyn to Bohemia is at least an hour because it takes me to get to Bohemia 45 minutes.
Yeah, it took me about 45 minutes too to get there.
Okay. So, and your car almost fell apart on the highway like hundreds of times.
Oh, do you remember that? That was funny.
Remember the time we left the studio and you're like, why does this look so weird on the bottom of my car? And I'm like, because you can't use chewing gum to hold up a freaking muffler pipe, dude.
No, do you remember? You know what it ended up being? It was like the axle or something, like the balance beam or whatever to my car. And my mechanic looked at it and he was like, "Oh yeah, if you made a too sharp of a turn, your whole car could fell over." And I drove like that. I drove like that for 4 days.
I was like, you used to crack me up because when I used to watch, you and I used to kind of go home at the same exact time because we were the last two at Worldwide. When we were afraid for our lives because we were the only two people in the building and there was no security system whatsoever. Right? Remember, we always were afraid that somebody's going to walk into the studio and just fucking put a bullet
on us. Yeah.
Except when the church was there. Remember the Spanish church that was there?
Oh my God, yeah.
We couldn't do our half the time. It was we inadvertently had a house band because next door they were playing so loud that it was yeah, here's our band, the church. Right? So it was the fact that they came out to us, I thought was so awesome. And I wanted to I really wanted to pay it forward by going to their podcast in Brooklyn. Remember you and I were talking about going? And then they had moved it because it was originally it was going to be at 4:00 in the afternoon. And we were like, all right, if it's that early, yeah, I'll definitely, we'll definitely make a run, go support the Pisanos. And the thing was they moved it to midnight. And I was like, man, I can't schlep to Brooklyn at midnight. I was like, it's just, but that was one of our favorite shows because the minute we got started, Joe went right into his Ric Flair impersonation. right?
It's having them on is whether it's Andrew and Joe, just Joe, Eric, whatever it is, we know it's going to be a great show. And even even if you're not a fan of wrestling, like it's just entertaining to listen to because
Yeah.
they're just hilarious.
Because they are just on point with the way they don't. Here's the thing: when you listen to a "What's Wrong with Wrestling" podcast, you have to just be ready to just. You're not going to get serious critiques because that's not the point of it. The point of it is just to make fun of wrestling for an hour and a half. Okay, and it's like and they do, but the thing is, where there's jokes, there's also truth. And the fact is while they're joking about it, they are 100% right about the product.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like inadvertently, they're just speaking the truth through humor. And it just kills me. Like when the first time he did Kevin Owens, I was on the floor. I was in my car. I was on my lunch break at work. I only get 30 minutes, so I have to listen to the podcast like by day and stuff. When he did the freaking Kevin Owens, I was on the floor, dude. I was laughing so hard because he sounded just like him. And the crazy part is, he looks like him. Andrew looks just like Kevin Owens. Like, so it all made sense. It was just awesome. And I love those guys, man. Those guys are the best. And they're always good for a laugh. And we always look forward to having them on. And, we appreciate, build, our friendship with them. And, again, always look forward to having them on again in the future. If we had a studio, I'd love to have, and they came into town for like a Mania or something, it would be badass to have them come hang out with us again.
Oh, absolutely.
So, all right. Well, it's been a while since we did our last show. Our last show was done right before Thanksgiving. I think it was about a week before Thanksgiving, if we're not mistaken.
Yes.
Because you had a few Mondays where you weren't available. So what we're going to do is we're going to recap as much as we can because there's a lot to go over.
Oh, there's a lot. We there's a lot we didn't talk about, a lot we missed, and hope.
And we're going to end our show like we always do, where we keep an eye on how former Jets have been doing, and it's not good. So,
no, it's not.
Advantage Douglas on those moves. All right, so let's get started. The first thing we're going to talk about is we're in the middle of a lockout right now in baseball. But that doesn't mean we can't comment on the flurry of deals that took place right before the lockout. And I think the biggest surprise for me, Klim, it was the fact that teams that were least likely to spend money wound up spending a shitload of money.
Right.
Okay? We'll get to the Mets in a minute because that's fine. But the Texas Rangers spent over $500 million on Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, and John Gray. Seager got $325. Okay, 10-year, $325. Marcus Semien got 7 years, $175. John Gray got 4 for $56. I don't know if I like the John Gray signing as much. I think the Texas Rangers need to do more. I mean, just putting John Gray in your rotation does not make your rotation that much better.
Mm-hmm.
But, he's a serviceable guy, and he survived Colorado with an ERA under 5, so that's a huge victory right there. But these were the teams that you were just really surprised. No way did I think Corey Seager was going to Texas Rangers. I thought he was signed, sealed, and delivered to the Yankees. Because I believe that the Yankees were going to finally spend, not finally, that's the wrong word, but I thought they were going to spend money to just solidify the shortstop position for the next 10 years. And then move Glaber over to second base or move him over to third base.
Right.
Okay? And then the Rangers swoop in and give him this insane contract. So then I ask myself, are the Yankees willing to spend this year? Do you think that, are they going after Correa? I don't even know if they like Correa because of all the Astros shit. Do they want, are they going to hold out and wait for Trevor Story? Does Trevor Story make sense for the Yankees? Is he the sexy attraction, the sexy guy player you want to see in the Bronx? I was really surprised by not only the Rangers adding big money, because Semien was a guy that was linked to the Yankees as well.
Yeah.
So 2 guys right off the bat for that one position, that one shortstop position, are now off the table. And then the Tigers come in and they get Javi Baez. And they give Javi Baez $140 million. So that's another shortstop off the table. So that basically leaves you with your choice of Correa or Story, or are you going to go after someone else?
Or do you just stick with Torres?
You can't stick with Torres. You can't go into the season with Torres as
you can't.
So, so the Rangers had 3 key guys. I mean, like I said, I was not expecting the Texas Rangers to spend that kind of money. And you know what? Good for them. I'm glad to finally see some of these other teams spending money. Okay?
No, you're absolutely right. But
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but like, it came as a shock because it's not like the Rangers and the Tigers were like, oh, you know what? They're a Corey Seager away from being in the World Series, or they're, I was going to say they're the Tigers are a Javi Baez away from the World Series. No, they have a lot more shit they need to fix on both of their teams. But the fact that because the Rangers going into the offseason, the only good players they really had were Udolis Garcia and Nate Lowe had a decent year last year. That was it. But they went out and spent monies on the almost MVP in the MVP in Marcus Semien, and a elite shortstop in Corey Seager, and a decent pitcher in John Gray. And the Tigers, they added Eduardo Rodriguez and Javi Baez. It's like, whoa, like I can't believe that.
But I think it was also a case of we don't know what's going to happen with the new CBA. Right. So I think these guys were rushing to get signed right as soon as they could. So because, again, we don't know what's going to entail, next, in the offseason, when they finally come to an agreement on a new collective bargaining agreement. Is there going to be a floor, like a salary cap floor, like hockey has a salary cap floor? Okay. Other teams going to spend big money? What is there going to be a luxury tax issue where they might bring it down to hit owners with a higher luxury tax? Well, no one knows. Mm-hmm. But it's just good to see teams like this finally waking up and okay, we got to spend money because these fucking owners have money. Okay, give me a break. You wouldn't own a baseball team if you didn't have the money to fucking support it.
Right.
Okay. And maybe you're not the richest owner in the world like Steve Cohen is, but you've got money. Don't tell me you don't have the money. All right? Because I'm like very tired of this whole mantra. I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of seeing the Dodgers involved in every free agent, the Yankees involved in every free agent. The Tigers adding Eduardo Rodriguez. I mean, I don't love the signing. I didn't think he was that good for the Red Sox last year. Mm-hmm. But I also think that for bad teams, you're going to have to overpay, man.
Yeah.
If you want to get the guy in uniform, that's what you got to do. I mean, I think that, the Tigers have a couple of good pitchers. Casey Mize, for example, looks like he could definitely take a big step forward this year. So maybe rounding out, maybe giving Rodriguez some depth. I don't know where they would put Rodriguez in their rotation. I'm thinking maybe as a 3. Right? I don't know if he's definitely not a 1, but I could definitely see him being a 3, like right now. Mm-hmm. So, and then Baez is another big bat for that lineup. Baez, I liked him on the Mets. The whole thing with the thumbs down shit bothered me because, again, you're going after the fans, and that's a fight you're not going to win. Okay? But at the end of the day, man, he could thrive in Detroit. And when Miguel Cabrera's contract finally runs out, he could definitely do some DH work so he doesn't, that could be perfect for him.
Right.
It's a hitter's park. The Tigers could be on their way to being a much better team. I think if Spencer Torkelson comes up eventually, they're going to be even better. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think they definitely have some pieces there, and I think they may not be done. So the other signings, the Mariners, they get Robbie Ray, which I thought was a pretty affordable deal. He got 5 years, 115. See, if I were the Blue Jays, I would have went after Ray over Kevin Gausman. Because Ray's already been on your team. And Gausman, you gave Gausman the same money you gave that Ray got from Seattle. So either Robbie Ray wanted to stay on the West Coast, or Toronto just didn't think as highly of him as, even though he won a Cy Young.
Right.
I like the addition of Gausman. I think the Jays could be a dangerous team, man. I think losing Semien hurts. And they're going to need a guy like George Springer to be healthy. He can't really spend multiple times on the IL this year.
Yeah.
But I think as long as you got Vlad Guerrero Jr., you got Kevin Biggio, Bo Bichette, Teoscar Hernandez, that team's going to be pretty loaded, man. They're going to be a pretty good team. They're going to give the Yankees some fits, and that AL East is becoming a very competitive division because no one expected Boston to be that good.
Yeah, everyone thought it was going to be between the Yankees and the Rays. And they figured, the Jays will fight. The Jays were good. The Red Sox were good. The Rays were obviously good. And the Yankees were okay.
The Rays got involved. They locked up Wander Franco for I think, 12 years. They actually wound up, from what I've been reading, they got him at a bargain because he could have probably made a lot more. Klim, is your feed going out again?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Wake up.
Sorry, I was texting Andrew saying thank you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sure. That's your story. You're sticking to it, right?
Yes.
And, of course, the Cubs get Marcus Stroman, which, I was a little surprised because I don't really know what the Cubs' strategy was going to be like this offseason because they sold everybody.
Right.
Outside of Wilson Contreras was like the only guy I think that was still hanging around, and Jason Hayward because they can't trade him because of his contract.
Right.
But after trading Bryant, after trading Baez, trading Schwarber – oh, no, Schwarber signed in the offseason. What am I talking about? But I didn't know what their strategy was. And the thing is, I like Marcus Stroman a lot, but I just get this vibe he's a six-inning pitcher. I'm not entirely sure that – I think the Mets were perfectly fine now that they got Max Scherzer.
Oh, my God. I wanted Stroman back. But even this is what I was telling my friends who are all Met fans. The Wilpons have poisoned us to an extent where it's like, you know what? In this offseason, I wasn't even thinking about the Mets signing Max Scherzer. I wasn't thinking about the Mets signing Starling Marte. I was thinking of the Mets signing a guy like John Gray, maybe hoping sign a guy like Chris Bryant, and maybe hopefully getting some bullpen help and re-signing Marcus Stroman. That's what my offseason was looking like prior to Billy Epler, who I'm so I'm in love with him now. I would marry Billy Epler
He's
tomorrow.
a spender. He's a spender.
He spent, man. He spent, and he still wants to spend. He wants to dig into Uncle Steve's pocket.
But this is exactly what the Mets should have did last year. I know why they didn't do it last year because I think it was going to send a really shitty message to the league. Whereas all these teams are, counting their pennies because of the COVID of the pandemic and everything. And here comes the Mets with freaking Uncle Steve ready to just spend hundreds of millions of dollars on players.
Mm-hmm.
So last year would have had a bad look to it. This year, all bets are off.
Oh, yeah. And they were.
And the thing was I started getting pissed off at Steve Cohen because when Steven Matz signed with the Cardinals, he threw a fit on Twitter. And I could not figure out why he was throwing a fit on Twitter about Steven Matz.
Right.
Did you not see how average to below average Steven Matz was with the Mets? Why are you rushing to bring this guy back?
Right.
Okay? Steven Matz is not a leader. He's a guy that, quite frankly, he doesn't have the mental makeup for New York City. Too many instances at Citi Field, he would walk a guy or two, and right away the floodgates just open. That's not a guy I want to commit 4 years to. $44 million is not a bad offer, and the Cardinals is definitely a good spot for him to go to because it's not going to be a shitload of pressure on him. Okay?
Right.
But at the end of the day, Cohen throwing a fit on Twitter is exactly the problem. It doesn't change what the perception of what people think of him. They think he's just too involved on social media. And he's got to cut the shit. That's why all those people didn't want to interview with the Mets.
Right.
Now, look, at the end of the day, I don't know how good of a GM Billy Epler is going to be.
He's looking good so far.
But so far, he's looking pretty good. So it was funny. So at first, it was like Eduardo Escobar. I like Eduardo Escobar. Hit 20 home runs
that move.
But the point is, you have to change the makeup of this roster. There was no way you could sell the Met fan on this roster going into 2022. You had to make significant changes. And what I was worried about was Steve Cohen letting his fandom get in the way of making sound business decisions. So he went out and got Eduardo Escobar. Great pickup. It was 2 years, $20 million. Guy had 28 home runs last year. You know, I would assume he's going to play third base. I doubt he's going to play second, but apparently he can play second. Then I saw Mark Canha. I'm like, okay, A's guy. Don't really know much about him. Turns out he's only a 244 career hitter. Strikes out a lot. But he gets, which I think is kind of funny, he gets hit by pitches a lot. So I guess that it increases the OBP. That's why Billy Beane loves him so much, because he gets on base. For the Moneyball reference, by the way. So
gets on base.
Yeah. Like, oh, do you want me to speak?
Me or
it's like when I snap at you, when I snap my fingers, yes. Right? Canha's all right, can play corner outfield, which is what you want, and everything. And the whole time I was like, man, I really want the Mets to get Starling Marte. I said, if they get Starling Marte, they can put him in center field every day, and they can move Nimmo to right field. Okay? Or left field. I don't remember which side Nimmo played, but I think he's better in right field. Okay? And what happens? Bam. Mets get Marte on a 4-year, $78 million deal. Now, I'm going to assume that the selling point was the 4th year. Because I don't think teams were willing to go 4 years for Marte. But I didn't care. It's not my money.
Right.
And the thing is that they needed a true center fielder. We said that all last year, Klim. Remember we said that?
Yes.
All last year on the show, we kept saying the Mets really need a true center fielder. We were nervous about Nimmo in center field, but we were okay with it because of his bat. We loved his bat, and we love his attitude, and we love, we love everything about Nimmo. It was just a case of I didn't know if he should be the everyday center fielder. He surprised me with how good his defense was last year. He actually did play.
He wasn't bad in center field at all.
No, I think he played good defense. I just don't think he has the arm for center field.
No.
Not like Starling Marte. Now, that being said, on paper, 4 years, $78 million is a lot of money. And that's fine. But it's what they needed. And again, it's Cohen. We have the richest owner in baseball. Why aren't we spending on these guys? So far, within a span of 2 days, you have your starting center fielder, your starting third baseman, and you have a corner outfielder. And now your outfield is starting to take shape. Because you could put Canha in left field, you could put Marte in center, and you could put Nimmo in right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the whole time the Max Scherzer stuff is going on, I'm saying to myself, there's no way he's going to sign with the Mets.
Right.
Because he vetoed a trade to them last year. And maybe at the end of the day, Max Scherzer vetoed that trade because he just felt that they weren't a contender.
Right. He wanted to win a ring.
At that moment, he probably figured they're not a contender. I want to win a World Series. The Dodgers are a better fit. I like the West Coast, but at the same time, I just think they're a better fit for me because they're on the cusp of winning another World Series. Fine. What's done is done. I just always felt that Scherzer would never come to the Citi Field. And then sure as shit, we start hearing that they're getting close and they're on the verge of a deal. And I'm like, holy shit, this is really happening. Max Scherzer is going to be the number 2 behind DeGrom. And then within a day later, it was a done deal.
Oh my God.
Like, I was stunned. Klim, I was stunned. I never thought in a million years Scherzer was coming to the Mets. You know what it reminded me of? Remember when Teixeira signed with the Yankees?
Yeah.
And everyone thought he wasn't going to because he was from Baltimore. And everybody was convinced that he was going to sign with either the Orioles or the Nationals for big money. And the Yankees swooped in and gave him an offer, and he went to the Yankees.
I'm trying to even remember, like, the last time someone was saying it on the radio when I was listening. I think it was like Michael Kay or Don LaGreca. And they were like, this is reminiscent of 05-06 when the Mets signed Carlos Beltran and Pedro Martinez.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you add Max Scherzer to, and it just ups that you were already a contender.
And
like,
I'm telling you right now, any Met fan who thinks that this signing is bad because it's an overpay is a fucking idiot. Okay? Because for years, all I heard from Met fans, bitching and moaning, Klim. Remember? Bitching and moaning up and down. We're cheap. This is a cheap franchise. The coupons, endlessly for years. Okay? That is all I heard. And you weren't wrong in your complaining. Okay? You definitely weren't wrong. The Wilpons definitely cut corners and everything. And the play result, it showed on the field. Now you have the richest owner in baseball. And this is the time where you whip out your balls and you just say, mine are bigger than yours. End of story. You have the richest owner in baseball. You better be spending like drunken sailors. There's no reason why Steve Cohen can't get Max Scherzer. I don't care if it costs $45 million a year. I don't care. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We needed another pitcher for that rotation. It doesn't matter what you do at the back end of the rotation now. It doesn't. You can go into next year with Carlos Carrasco as a 3. You can go into next year having Tyler McGill and David Peterson fight it out for the 5th spot. And Taijuan Walker being your 4. Okay? Because you have 2 of the best pitchers in baseball, number 1 and number 2 at the top of your rotation.
It's magical. It's magical, man. Like,
and here's the crazy part. They're not done.
I know. Chris Bryant is still on the table.
My prediction right now. This is my prediction. They are going to trade. They're going to put a package together that's going to center around Dom Smith and maybe either Jeff McNeil or J.D. Davis. They're going to find a way to unload both of them. And it's nothing against Dom. I love Dom. But I think Dom is better suited to be a first baseman on another team.
Right.
That's where his value is. He'll get playing time every day at a position that he feels comfortable with. And listen, make no mistake about it. I love Dom's attitude. Dom took the challenge of playing left field. He embraced it. He worked his ass off, man, and he wasn't a bad left fielder. He really wasn't.
He got better and better, yeah.
His bat was the reason why the Mets suffered. It had nothing to do with his defense. But again, at the end of the day, they're not done. The Mets are not this team anymore that you're like, oh, the fucking coupons or the Wilpons are so fucking cheap and everything. Not anymore. Those days are over. They're over. It's not happening. When you give Max Scherzer $130 million over 3 years, at highest average annual value on the team in the league, you have literally whipped out your dick, put it on the table, and just said, mine is bigger than yours. What's up?
No, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Like, you and I, we talked about when Billy Epler was here. When we signed Billy Epler to be our GM, we were like, it's okay. It's not great. He's been making moves, and that was one thing we knew about Billy Epler, that he was going to spend. He was going to spend money. But what we didn't know was what's Sandy going to implement, like, is he going to do this and that? And Billy Epler is taking Steve Cohen's money and spending it like he's at a strip club.
Because Steve Cohen doesn't want to be embarrassed anymore. He's flaunting his money around because that's what he should do. That's what he should do. You're the richest owner in baseball. There is no reason why this team can't have a payroll similar to the Dodgers.
You're right.
The Yankees. And they're not done. They're not done.
Exactly. Speaking of the Yankees, George Steinbrenner is rolling over in his grave for the way the Mets are spending money and the Yankees aren't right now.
You think, let me ask you a question. You think George Steinbrenner give a crap about who Jason Dominguez is or Estevan Florial? No. He wants to win titles. He only wanted to win titles. He didn't give a fuck what it took. He didn't care. He didn't care. And this is exactly how the Mets should be operating now. Because when you bring in veterans like this, it gives your young guys time to develop. You're not throwing them out to the wolves because you have no depth at certain positions. And now you can focus those picks on the draft. And that's exactly why they didn't go after Kevin Gausman or Robbie Ray, because they would have had to give up a pick. Mm-hmm. They don't want to do that. And now they have 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. I mean, blindsided does not begin to describe how the Mets went this offseason. It was a shock to the system that they got Max Scherzer. An absolute shock to the system.
But you're absolutely right. And like I just said it earlier, the Wilpons and former GMs have poisoned our minds to think that, that we can't get a guy like Max Scherzer, that we can't get a Starling Marte, because, like I said, I went into this offseason thinking, John Gray and re-sign Marcus Stroman and maybe Chris Bryant and, all this other shit, But now, with the day we got Escobar, I was like, okay, I like that move. I like that move a lot. And then Mark Canha, I was like, okay, I don't hate that move. If he comes off the bench, that's okay. If he starts, that's not bad either. And then, bam, Starling Marte. I was like, holy shit. I wasn't even talking about signing Starling Marte, Mm-hmm. And then what happens the next 2 days after that? Bam, Max Scherzer. I was like, holy shit. I was not even picturing Max Scherzer to be a Met. I figured he'd be going back to LA.
And they all said the same thing. Max Scherzer said it. He said, they are going to do whatever it takes to win, and that's why I want to be here. And look, and that's what you want to hear. If you're a Met fan, you want to hear that.
Right.
And the funniest thing was, I was listening to the Bohemia Boys last week, and of course, guess who has a problem with it? Right? Oh, he's going to get hurt, and, they shouldn't have signed him because he's going to get hurt. And, they were interviewing this, I think he was a baseball writer or some kind of fantasy baseball writer, and the writer said, basically said in not too many words, yeah, he could get hurt, but if you're the Mets, why don't you do this deal? Why wouldn't you bring in Max Scherzer? Why, if you have all the money and you have the richest owner in baseball, why wouldn't you bring the guy in?
Yeah.
Every guy can get hurt. It doesn't matter whoever you sign. Every time you sign a guy to a big contract, they always run the risk of injuries. It's a war of attrition nowadays in sports. Look at me. Look at football. You have guys getting hurt every week.
And even to the one thing with, talk about Max Scherzer getting hurt, the one thing Max Scherzer, besides being a great pitcher, he's been very healthy his whole career.
Yeah. He's a durable pitcher, and that's all you need to know. And I don't care how old he is, and I don't care what it costs. You don't think you're not gonna want to go to Citi Field to see Max Scherzer in a fucking Mets uniform?
I already asked for a Max Scherzer jersey for Christmas.
I mean, same thing with Starling. You don't want to go see Starling Marte playing center field every day? I mean, come on. I mean, like I said, if you're a Met fan and you're bitching and complaining about the money, then you're a moron. You're just a moron at that point. And I'm sorry, there's no hope for you. There's no hope because you will never be satisfied with whatever the Mets did.
Mm-hmm.
The same fan base that was bitching and moaning for years and years about how the Mets didn't do this and, the Mets are cheap and everything like that. Then you get some of the Mets fans complaining that, well, we overspent. It's $40 million a year. So what?
Who cares? It's not our money.
And
You
the
know,
thing
like-
is, like, that is and in many ways, that should frustrate the Yankee fan more than anything. Because you've been on the path to winning a World Series for like 4 years. And when you get to the playoffs, you barely show up. You got your ass handed to you against the Red Sox in the wild card game. You lost to the Rays last year. You know, you want to bitch and complain about the cheating with the Astros? Go ahead. It means absolutely nothing now. It means shit. The Yankees have had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, and that includes getting Garrett Cole.
Mm-hmm.
And they still have massively underachieved.
Garrett Cole was supposed to be the piece that put them over the top last year.
He's our Max Scherzer. Like, Garrett Cole is their Max Scherzer. You didn't have a problem giving him a 9-year, $325 million contract then.
Right.
Nobody told you it was an overpay then. You needed an ace. You went out and got one.
Right.
You know what? And I said it. We talked about it during the offseason when I basically said, I was like, I want to get excited for the Mets, but they always give me reasons not to.
Right.
They build you up and then they let you down during the season, kind of thing. This is one of those times where I am genuinely excited for Mets baseball now.
No, exactly. And like I said it a couple times already. Like, the Wilpons and past teams have just poisoned our minds to not be excited for Mets baseball, no matter even who we sign. Like, It's like, but now you can feel it. Once we get a manager in this locker room, God, please let it be Buck Showalter. The sky's the limit.
I heard this the other day. It was like, the Mets were, talking. There was a rumor going around that Curtis Granderson could be a candidate for the Mets managerial job. No. I don't want any inexperienced managers managing this team.
We need Buck Showalter.
All right, I'll take Buck Show. I would love Buck Showalter. I would love, I don't mind a guy like Brad Osmus. He's not my first choice or my second choice, but I'll take him. I want a veteran manager managing this team. I don't want another Curtis Granderson or Mike Piazza or David Wright or whatever. I don't want an inexperienced manager. You cannot, if you're steamrolling ahead and you've already spent over $250 million on 4 players, okay? It is inexcusable for you to start skimping out on a manager. Go get Buck. All right? Adam Jones is pushing for them to get Buck. Go get Buck Showalter. That should be your next plan right now. I don't care who the next manager is. If it's a guy like Osmus, fine. If it's a guy like Joe Espada, okay. I don't want an inexperienced player, a player who's never been a manager before. No. Absolutely not. But we'll see, because the Mets still have to, they have to figure out their bullpen a little bit. You got to figure out what you're going to do at certain positions. Are you going to move forward with Jeff McNeil on the roster? You probably could use another pitcher. But right now, if you're a Met fan, you have to be super excited for this season.
I'm beyond excited. Like I said, once we get the manager in here, I'll be even better.
All right, let's jump to football. Let's get into briefly like yesterday's games. The Jets lose to the Eagles 33-18. I guess if you take a good thing out of it is that Zach Wilson had a really strong game.
He did.
2 touchdowns, throwing, 1 rushing. Again, Joe Douglas sacrificed defense for offense. I don't think we would ever second guess that decision because of that, we have some real explosive playmakers. Elijah Moore looks like he's going to be a stud. He's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver before you know it. Michael Carter, he's injured right now, but when he's carrying the ball, he's a beast running the football. Elijah Vera Tucker looks like one of the top guards in the NFL. Okay? Zach Wilson is going to start to come around, I think. But in order to do that, you had to make a sacrifice. So you had to sacrifice improving your defense. In the second round last year, I wanted them to draft Azeez Ojulari because I wanted a pass rusher. I wanted as many pass rushers as we could get. I've already gotten Carl Lawson, but I wanted a pass rusher. But we drafted Elijah Moore. I was a little surprised by it just because they had already signed Corey Davis. They had Jamison Crowder. They had Denzel Mims. But at the end of the day, Elijah Moore looks like one of the steals of the draft. And that's what you have to hang your head on. You hang your head on the fact that the Jets are building something. You can whine and complain all you want when they lose games, and that's fine. Okay? But don't forget to see the big picture. And the big picture is they are building something. And that's why I'm confident in Joe Douglas guiding the ship. Here's where I'm running into an issue. Number one, I'm going to take Douglas to task because he should have gotten a veteran kicker a long time ago. Getting these college guys that have never kicked in the NFL before was always a risky move, and it has not paid off for Douglas. He just needs to spend money on a kicker. Okay? You went with Sam Ficken, Sergio Castillo, Chase McLaughlin, this kid, Alex Kessman, Matt Amendola, Kari Vedvik. They all sucked. It can't possibly cost more than $1 million or $2 million to get a veteran kicker in this building. Josh Lambo would have been perfectly fine. So I will take Douglas to task on that. The other thing I'm going to take on the task is of Saleh. I love the guy. I do. Okay? But I'm very concerned with the fact that he has a tough time making in-game adjustments. They don't know how to stop Dallas Goedert. They don't know how to stop Gardner Minshew. And then you have the Jets players openly saying that they didn't prepare for Gardner Minshew. Now, do you need extensive prep work for Gardner Minshew? No.
You shouldn't.
You shouldn't. Okay? But the funny thing about it is they can act like they don't know. They can pretend like they don't know that he's going to play. But at the end of the day, you watch ESPN. You get updates on your phone. We get updates all the time on our phones, right, Klim? When ESPN breaks news, Jalen Hurts is out for Sunday. You know that he has an ankle injury. You know he may not play. Why not prep for both?
Yeah.
Is it really that hard to scheme for Gardner Minshew? And it's just, again, this is what I'm talking about. We have a defensive-minded coach who did not prepare his defense to win a game.
That's the shit that I never understood when a team loses to the backup quarterback. It's like, we didn't prepare for this guy. Clearly, obviously not. You didn't prepare for the backup quarterback, but you should be able to destroy this guy either way. It's not like they have a whole separate playbook. It's like, what? Gardner Minshew's in playing today. Let's dust the cobwebs off this playbook. No, it's the same shit. The same shit.
And that's what I mean. That concerns me. I know they're not the most talented defense in the league. They are one of the worst. At the same time, you have a lot of young guys on that team that are still learning, man. They're still learning.
Yeah.
You guys kill Ashton Davis all you want. The guy's still fucking learning. He's never played a full season before. And don't forget, last year he was under Adam Gase. He was hurt most of last season. He's learning a whole new defensive scheme. He's basically being thrown out to the wolves because your starting two safeties are both injured and out for the season. And I think Ashton Davis, has he been good? He's been okay. I wouldn't say he's not elite, by any stretch. He's not terrible, though, either. The more reps he plays, the more I think he could get better. But right now, we have no veterans on this team. They're all hurt.
Right.
They're all out for the season. Carl Lawson out for the season. Sheldon Rankins is injured. Marcus May out for the season. LaMarcus Joyner out for the season. Do I need to continue?
No.
And with 5 games left of the season, at this point, just throw the guys out there and see what they can do. That's it. That's all you can do at this stage of the season. Douglas has found some diamonds in the rough. Javelin Guidry has potential to be a good depth piece. Elijah Riley has a potential to be a good depth piece for this roster. Even Ashton Davis. I don't know how they approach the draft next year, free agency. Do they go out and sign a safety in free agency and then maybe draft one in the first round? Maybe like a Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame? Or they draft a cornerback like Stingley from LSU, even though I don't think that makes any sense because he only played 3 games last year. But, I mean, right now, this is going to be the plan going into the offseason. Just go for defense. You don't need offense. You need a tight end. You could draft a tight end. You don't need to sign a tight end. Draft a kid from Ohio State, Jeremy Rucker. Done. There you go. There's your problem solved. And I was talking to Keith the other day, and Keith was like, well, I'm really concerned about the throws that he makes. Zach, I'm starting to get concerned because he's all, some of these throws are. And I said, Keith, he threw for 2 touchdowns and ran for another one. I'm like, I don't understand how much better he could have played on Sunday. Did he throw a pick? Sure. But other than that, you're taking progress. This is progress. Now he's got to build on it for next week. And he doesn't have Corey Davis. He's out for the season. So this is a time for a guy like Denzel Mims to shine. Step up, man. Help this kid. Because teams are going to be fixated on Elijah Moore now. They're going to try to take him out of the game. They're going to try to take him out of the game, and they're going to force you to use the other weapons. So use him. Use Braxton Berrios. Use Denzel Mims. Get him the ball, man. The last thing I'm going to say was about the comments that CJ Mosley made about how he felt disrespected by the Eagles and they wouldn't shake hands with him during the coin toss and everything. Then take that shit personally.
Yeah, put it out on the field.
Go fucking hit somebody. Go run over a lineman. But I have a hard time really kind of understanding where CJ Mosley's coming from when he's getting burned by a tight end for a touchdown and he gets offsides on a crucial 3rd and 4 that led to a first down. He was a catalyst to their problems.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm sorry you feel disrespected. The Eagles are a bunch of dicks anyway, just like their fans.
No, we know that.
Their fans are a bunch of shitbirds, right? Because, all they do is, the minute Gardner Minshew throws an interception next week, they'll be booing him out of Philadelphia. But it's like, if CJ Mosley really has a problem, take it out on the field. Take it out on a player. That's what you do. Get mad. Get frustrated. If you're just going to sit back and not do anything, well, then they're going to walk all over you every time.
No, you're absolutely right. Like, fucking, if that's the case, put it out on the field. I mean, yeah, CJ Mosley had 12 tackles, but CJ Mosley's not looking too good during the games either.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't looked that great. But the Jets have another home game on Sunday, and in my opinion, it's a winnable game. I think they can beat the Saints. I think they can beat the Saints with Taysom. Taysom Hill stinks.
Yeah.
Did you see some of those passes?
He's not good. He's not good. He's a great utility guy, but
I was having a really good conversation the other day about overrated coaches in the NFL. And I feel like a lot of guys get by on name recognition. So the minute a guy like Sean Payton becomes available, everybody goes crazy. It's like, oh, we got to hire Sean Payton. Sean Payton has won 1 Super Bowl in New Orleans. 1. Yes, has he made playoff appearances? Sure. But you know what the sad part is about New Orleans right now? They never prepared for life after Drew Brees.
Yeah.
They never developed a quarterback. They never drafted a quarterback and said, okay, we're going to let him sit behind Drew Brees, learn the offense, so next year he's ready. Nope. They work out some really weird contract with Taysom Hill that could pay him as low as $40 million or could pay him as how much as $90 million. And after you saw the game where he threw 4 interceptions against Dallas, would you really want to be committed to Taysom Hill for $90 million?
Nope.
But the Jets have a winnable game on Sunday, and I think they can win it. But they just, again, the defense has to step up. This fucking defensive line has got to play better. Get some fucking pressure on the quarterback already. I'm tired of seeing Quinn and Williams get pushed around. I'm tired of seeing John Franklin Myers get pushed around. Where are these guys? Foley Fatukazi, where are you?
It's like, again, like, it's 1 week they'll be like, oh, okay, this is the day we're going to turn it on. 2 sacks, a bunch of quarterback rushes. And then the next week it's like, yeah, where are they? We don't know.
All right, so let's move on to the Giants real quickly. Giants lose 20-9. I don't really know what else to say about the Giants at this point that hasn't been said. They're just not a very good team. I don't think they would have won this game even if Daniel Jones was playing yesterday. And, Saquon Barkley is just more and more of a bust each week. Kenny Galladay's hurt again. Leonard Williams hasn't really been that effective. The defense hasn't really been that great. These are things we all know. So there's no point in trying to repeat them. There's no point in wishing it differently for them. They're just a bad team. They're a bad football team. And that's it. You spend $72 million on Kenny Galladay. The guy's been hurt 3 times already this year. When you knew he was an injury-prone receiver. That felt like a panic move by Gettleman. Almost like Gettleman was competing against himself.
Right.
The defense has been suspect. The Dolphins have been playing a lot better. Jalen Waddle looks like a great player.
Mm-hmm.
Tua is definitely coming to his own. Remember 6 weeks ago when nobody wanted anything to do with Tua?
Yeah, Tua himself even was like, I feel like I'm not wanted here. Like,
They were ready to ship him out for Deshaun Watson pre-sexual assault trial. That's all you can really say about the Giants. There's nothing more you can say about the Giants at this point. They're just not a good team. There's already rumblings that Gettleman is going to step down after the year, but Judge may stay on. They may keep Judge around.
Bad move.
Now, I think that all depends on who becomes available coaching-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if a guy like Mike Tomlin becomes available, if a guy like, not Bieniemy, but like maybe, I'm losing it. I don't know who. I had another guy in my head. Maybe a guy like Sean Payton. Either one of those guys becomes available, Joe Judge is gone. And the Giants are going to go try to focus on getting one of those guys. But is that really better? Like, do you see an improvement by hiring Mike Tomlin? I don't know.
This Giants team is just bad in general. Like, it starts from the GM, because everyone liked Joe Judge last year, and now it's like, well, what the fuck's going on? It's your GM gave you a shitty team. They did nothing to rebuild this offensive line in the offseason. You did nothing to help give Daniel Jones weapons because, like you said, you knew Kenny Galladay was a liability when you signed him. You traded back into a draft where you overdrafted Kadarius Toney, and I like Kadarius Toney a lot. You overdrafted for him. You had Saquon Barkley, who's coming off a significant knee injury, who's not looking the same. So what do? You don't draft Rashawn Slater, who's looking like one of the best offensive linemen in this rookie class. And you don't draft him to help protect Daniel Jones and make holes for Saquon Barkley, make it a bit easier for him. No, like Dave Gettleman really screwed this team really badly. They really did.
And they have a long way to go. And the reason why the Giants look a lot worse than the Jets right now is because the Jets are rebuilding. They've added a couple of free agents here and there, but none of those guys are playing right now. They're all hurt. The Giants spent big money on Kenny Galladay. They gave Leonard Williams a $60 million contract. They gave Adoree Jackson a 3-year deal. They signed Logan Ryan right before the season started to a 3-year extension. And none of those, they're just not a good team right now. But there's not much more you can really say about them. They're just not a good football team. And you leave it at that. One other note from the NFL, which I have to admit I was stunned yesterday afternoon when I found out. The Panthers fired Joe Brady as their offensive coordinator.
Yeah, that was wild.
Well, there's got to be a fall guy for Sam Darnold, and he's the fall guy. It's not going to be Matt Rule.
No, it's not.
And the thing is that this is a team, the Carolina Panthers are a team that live and die by Christian McCaffrey. And now Christian McCaffrey's out for the season again. Second year in a row, he's had to miss the season, and the offense can't function.
You know,
Sam Darnold was a complete disaster for them. Started out good, but he just fell off a cliff, ending with a 3-interception performance against the Patriots where he's getting reamed out by Robbie Anderson, of all people, on the sideline. Now he's got a fractured scapula. He's probably out for the season. They bring back Cam Newton. Everybody goes crazy about the Panthers signing Cam Newton. Oh, the Panthers are going to make the playoffs. You watch. Yeah, he got benched last week against the Dolphins. He got benched for P.J. Walker. But yeah, tell me again how the Panthers are going to make the playoffs. There has to be a fall guy. I don't know how much it is on Brady. I think it's a combination of Rule and Brady, but Rule's not getting fired because he has the longer contract than Brady does. The fact is, the two of them believe that Sam Darnold was the missing link to their offense, and it failed miserably. And they know it, and they can't fix it now. It's too late. They have an outside shot at the playoffs, but I think it's a very outside shot. But Joe Brady will get another job. In fact, if I'm Joe Brady, don't be surprised if you see Joe Brady wind up at LSU with Brian Kelly.
I wouldn't be surprised. The guy who knows the guy who knows the team there, he knows everyone there basically because he's not that far removed. He probably helped recruit some of those guys.
You know, I don't know if Joe Brady is entirely to blame. I mean, I think he's partially to blame because he didn't develop Sam Darnold like everybody thought he was going to. But I also think that was Matt Rule thinking he could fix Sam, and he couldn't.
Yeah.
And now you're stuck with a quarterback next year for over $20 million. You're down 2 draft picks next year to the Jets. And you're going to have to trade Sam Darnold for a shitty pick. You're going to have to attach another pick just to get Sam Darnold's contract off your books.
Gotta love it.
So, side note on Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame. Good riddance. Now, the one thing I'll say about Brian Kelly is my opinion is that I think he had numerous chances to turn Notre Dame into a national champion, and he never did it.
Yes.
There were plenty of seasons where the defenses were terrible. And on top of that, I was sick and tired of watching them go into the CFP and getting destroyed by Alabama and destroyed by Clemson. Or destroyed by Ohio State or whoever else they played. The thing about Notre Dame, and I've said this before on the show, is that the priests and the nuns at Notre Dame don't take dopes. They love athletics, but they stress academics more. That's what they do at Notre Dame. You're not always going to get the creme de la creme of the 5-star recruits because Alabama and Ohio State and all those other schools are going to let those kids do whatever they want, just as long as they show up on Saturday and ready to kick the shit out of another team. Notre Dame wants you to be high in academics and you can play football. But they stress the academics because it's a strict Catholic school and the priests and the nuns don't take shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Brian Kelly had enough, and he knew he was never going to win a national championship with Notre Dame. So he went to LSU. And apparently developed a Southern accent, too, at the same time. So, because he was on a show, I think it was being interviewed, and they had like a weird Southern, someone said he had a weird Southern accent when he was doing it.
That's what I heard, too. I didn't see it, but I gotta find that video. But yeah, I mean, look, as much as I liked Brian Kelly, and he did a lot for this program, became the most winningest coach, blah, 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 took us to a national championship one year, the college playoffs, I think 3 times. Look, he just couldn't get over that hump of, playing the Ohio States and the Clemsons and the Bamas, and he couldn't get over the hump. And it was, you know what? It's time. It was time for him to go. As much as I like Brian Kelly, and I'll always respect him for being such a good coach at Notre Dame, his time was up, and I think Marcus Freeman is ready to go.
Yeah, you know why Stephen A. Smith likes Marcus Freeman as the new head coach at Notre Dame?
African American.
Thank you very much. Because he doesn't know shit about Notre Dame. He just
I saw that update and I was like, I could bet your ass that Stephen A. Smith has not watched a single Notre Dame game this year. He has no idea who Marcus Freeman is.
I don't even think he knows where Notre Dame is. Now, listen, it's a good hire. Supposedly, the guy's a very good. He's very good with the players. He's a good coach. He relates to players well, which is what you want. So that's a good thing. And if you feel like this guy's the best guy for the job, hire him on the spot.
And they did.
And listen, like I said, it always looks good when an African American or a minority gets a head coaching job. It always looks good. And you're not doing it from a PR standpoint. You're doing it because you know the guy can coach. He's been on your coaching staff for years. So the guy's got a great relationship with players, and that's a good thing. So elevate him. Give him the job. If you think he deserves it, give him the damn job. I love it. I mean,
I like the way Marcus Freeman ran the defense this year. This defense was very good. And I'm all about it. I'm all about Marcus Freeman being this head coach. I honestly thought it was going to be Tommy Rees being the head coach, but
I don't know if it was going to be him. I understand what you're saying though, because he does run a good offense, and Jack Cohn is really good, by the way. So, but Brian Kelly, I think he ran his course. I think he knew he was not going to win a national championship at Notre Dame. It was better to move on. I think he'll get a little bit more leeway when it comes to recruiting with LSU and the SEC because, again, Notre Dame stresses academics more than anything. They don't just accept people with below average test scores. That's just how they are, and that's how they're always going to be. That's why everybody hates them. They're almost like a wannabe Ivy League in a way. All right, so let's do some quick hits on the local teams, and then we'll just call it a night. Islanders still winless at UBS Arena. I don't know what to say anymore about them. Listen, it's great that you got 3 points in your last 3 games. That's fine. There's still plenty of season to make a run, but it's got to start now. You got to start now. And Klim, how many times did I say it? I hated the fact that they brought back the same exact roster from last year. Yep. I am sick and tired of seeing the fourth line, and I'm sick and tired of Islander fans having a fucking erection about Casey Zizekas and Matt Martin and Cal Clutterbuck. Okay? And I'm sorry, and I'm calling it right now, Barzal is overrated. Barzal is fucking overrated. And I don't know if Islander fans were expecting the next Tavares. Every time the guy makes a play, everybody goes crazy, but he doesn't do it consistently enough. And if you don't believe me, look at the stats. His point numbers have gone down every year since he had 80 points, I think, in 2017 or 18. His point totals have gone down because they didn't go out and get scoring. And we beat it like a drum on this show. They didn't go out and get a guy like Tarasenko. They didn't, they didn't wind up with Landeskog. I don't know how serious they were about Landeskog, but they didn't go out and get that scoring. Last year the Rangers realized they had to change the philosophy of the team. So they went out and got grittier players. They went out and got guys like Ryan Reeves, Barclay Goodrow. And where are they now? They're in second place in the division, 1 point behind the Capitals, and they've won 6 straight.
Yeah, because they realized they had good young talent. So they're like, okay, let's go get all these good players and build around them. The Islanders didn't do that at all. They when Tavares left, again, as much as that's fine. Tavares left, it's over with at this point. But yeah, exactly. They did nothing to replace the guy, and that's what's hurting the Islanders. That's what's hurting Tavares. That's what's hurting Bouvillier. All these young guys, because you expected Barzal to be that next Tavares. And guess what? He's not. He's not even close. And yeah, he's a good player, don't get us wrong, but he's not a scorer. He's a pass first kind of guy, and he can stick handle great. He has great speed on the ice, but he's not a scorer. So what do you do the past 2 years? You do nothing. And the only really big off-season move you guys did, you got 2 old guys in Zdeno Chara and Zach Parise. And I like them both, but they're not elite scorers.
I'm going to stop you right there. They're blaming Parise and Chara for their struggles. Parise and Chara are not the reason why this team is struggling. This team is struggling because Pajot stinks, Beauvillier stinks, Barzal stinks. Do I need to continue?
No.
Okay. You want to blame it on them or the COVID protocol? Fine. The NHL should have probably shut them down sooner, but they didn't. They don't have scoring. And I said that was something they had to address in the offseason.
And they did.
Coming back with the same exact roster was not a good idea. And everybody, when they signed, and they gave Kyle Palmieri 4 years, how's that working out? He's another one who sucks. And now what's going to start to happen is they're going to start to tune out Trotz. And then he's either going to resign or leave because, the fucking players get tired. When they're losing, they don't want to hear Trotz giving them shit. And the thing is, I'm going to throw Trotz a little bit under the bus here too, because one of the guys who's actually playing well for you, Oliver Wahlstrom, you're like breaking his balls because you like your veteran players. It's just been a disaster. Like, there's no other way to describe it. We just talked about the Rangers. So we talked about the Rangers. They've won 6 in a row. They're a legitimate team. They are a legitimate team this year. Now, look, could it all fall apart? Sure. It's a long season. I'm sure the Rangers are going to hit a wall eventually. Most teams do. Most teams on the runs the Rangers are having right now hit a wall. But the Islanders have to start. And the thing is, first of all, if I'm the Islanders organization, Barry Trotz is not getting away with this. Okay? Because the Flyers just fired Alan Vino today after they lost 8 straight. Trotz is going to get a little bit of a pass because he's made it to the Eastern Conference Finals the last couple of years. But something's not right. You're not pushing the right buttons. It's got to be fixed. It's got to be fixed fast.
No, it definitely does because, again, this is the third year in a row that the Islanders did nothing to really significantly upgrade this team. You brought in Zach Parise, cool. He's an old guy. He's not elite. You brought in Zdeno Chara, cool. He's an old guy, not elite anymore.
But they're third and fourth line players. I don't care about that. The thing is you banked on Barzal, you banked on Beauvillier to continue to take in the steps forward, and they're not doing it. They're not doing it. And what's it going to take for them to realize this? When is Barzal going to wake the fuck up? And Beauvillier too. I'm sick and tired of hearing Islander fans defend them up and down. I'm sick of it. Like, I don't know what else to say. It's like Islander fans defend these guys up and down. They defend the fourth line up and down. We can never get rid of the fourth line ever. They're going to play together till they're 65 years old because we don't want to get rid of the identity line. They're our identity. Your identity are a bunch of old geezers. It's like, enough. The fact that you have not won a home game yet in your brand new arena is fucking pathetic. It's pathetic.
The Rangers have more wins in our arena than we do. Like, I'm not surprised. I'm really not surprised. People were predicting the Islanders to go to the Stanley Cup this year. I didn't believe so because you know why?
Listen,
and you and I both said it.
They can make a run. I totally believe they can make a run. They've done it before. They've won 11 in a row, 12 in a row. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but it's got to start now. You're only 5 points. You take it baby steps. You have a win. You have a game coming up against the Devils this week. You got to beat the fucking Devils because that's one of the teams you're chasing.
Mm-hmm.
You got to beat Nashville too. But I'm just getting tired. Like, I'm tired of, and it's just annoying because, like, the Jets are having a terrible season. I can't even enjoy hockey now because the Islanders are having a terrible season. On to the Knicks. Another team that's kind of fallen off a cliff lately. You know what I'm going to say about this, Klim, and I'll just leave it at this? When the Knicks lose, it's never their fault. It's always the referee's fault. Always the referee's fault. Tibbs is yelling at the referees for bad calls. They're always complaining about the referees. And here's the best part. Now the scapegoat is Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker, who you made this whole big shit about this fanfare of, oh my God, Kemba Walker, he's great. He's the king of New York. All the years that he was in high school in the Bronx, and all the games at UConn and Madison Square Garden. Not once did he play for New York, by the way. He played for Charlotte and he played for Boston, and he was on Oklahoma City. He was on the Thunder, but he never made it. And now he's Klim. It's not even effective of being on the bench. He's completely out of the rotation. So much for that New York homecoming. That only lasted, 20 games?
And again, like the Islanders, the Knicks really did nothing to upgrade their team this offseason. They added Kemba Walker, who has been riddled with injuries the past few years, and Evan Fournier, who's not even a starter. He's a guy off the bench. They did nothing to upgrade this team, and they're wondering why, like the Islanders, what the hell's going on?
It's out of control, man. Like, it's just out of control. Your problems are because of Kemba Walker. Right. Maybe it's because Julius Randle's underachieving. Maybe your team is just not as good as you thought it was. Not as elite. Now you look at the other side with the Nets. The problem I have with the Nets right now is they can't beat anybody good.
Yeah.
They've lost to the Bulls twice, the Heat, the Warriors. They got destroyed by the Warriors. They lost to the Bucks. They haven't beaten any good teams. They lost to the Suns. They even got blown out by the Charlotte Hornets in their home opener.
Like for the Nets, it's great. You're doing a great job beating the bad teams. You're supposed to beat up on the bad teams, and that's fantastic. But playing the teams like the Bucks, like the Suns, those are the teams you're gonna want to face, because those are the teams when you beat those teams, that's how you get better. And if you're not beating those teams, it's gonna be a rough time in the playoffs.
That's it. I mean, that's all you can really say right now. It's just that the Nets are playing well, but they're not beating good teams. The Knicks, it's never the Knicks' fault when they lose. They always blaming the referees or some bullshit. And now the new scapegoat. Congratulations, Kemba Walker. You've been in New York for 20 games, and you are officially the scapegoat of the New York Knicks. Because only you were taken out of the rotation. No one else. No one else is taken out of the rotation except for Kemba Walker. Before we get into how the Jets fared over the last week, real quickly, I called 2 Islander games over the weekend on Saturday and Sunday for the PAL Junior Islanders. I love every minute of doing it. It's so much fun. The kids really play hard. They really do play their asses off, man. It's so cool watching the games. It's very fast-paced and everything. So on a side note, during the first intermission of yesterday's game, one of the parents came up to me and just wanted to, and it really meant a lot to me because, I take this very seriously, doing this stuff. And, I don't have any, grand delusions that I'm going to be on WFAN and all that stuff. Not that I don't even know if I want to be on WFAN. But the fact is that I enjoy doing this every moment. And every time I get the opportunity, it's practice. It's a way to get better. If you ever heard my first Junior Islander game I ever called, I was a deer in headlights. I didn't know half the shit that was going on. I didn't have notes. I didn't have anything. I was just kind of going by the seat of I was just flying by the seat of my pants. But I've taken it so seriously now by just writing a lot of game notes, trying to figure out where they are, like in something as simple as power play and penalty kill, players to watch, or teams on winning streaks, how far are they ahead of this team, how far are they, what do they need to do to catch this team, whatever. So I really had a nice conversation with one of the players. The player's name is Bradley Gray, and he's a defenseman for the Junior Islanders. And his dad was at the game yesterday because, Bradley Gray is a good player, but he doesn't get activated as much, but lately they've had some injuries, so he's definitely been getting more ice time. And I had a really nice talk with his dad, and his dad came up to me yesterday during the intermission. He said that he just wanted to tell me that I was doing a really good job calling the game, calling his son's game on hockey TV, that, he really senses how passionate we are when we do the games. And he wasn't just talking about me. He was talking about all the other guys who work hard for hockey TV to call the games and make the games exciting. Because a lot of these parents that have kids in this league, they're all from all over the country. They're not just from Long Island.
Right.
You get a few select parents from Long Island, but most of the kids are from Maine, Minnesota. There's a few from Canada. There's even a few from Sweden.
Ooh.
Okay. But he just wanted to take a moment to tell me how good of a job I was doing and how the camera work was really great for the game, and that we were really into the game. That he was very interested in the game from my announcing and all that.
No, that's fantastic.
And it really meant a lot to me. It really did. And I told him that, and I said, I really have enjoyed doing this a lot. These kids really work hard, and I love preparing for these games, and I love coming here ready to go to do a game and everything. And once I put on that headset, like I'm ready to rock. And I know it's not the NHL or anything, but any experience is good experience.
No, absolutely.
And to hear that from someone in the crowd, it meant a lot to me. And I really appreciate Bradley Gray's father telling me that, because it pushes me to do better. And I just wanted to kind of acknowledge that. I didn't get his first name, but I just really appreciated the kind words and the positive feedback that he was giving us on the broadcast yesterday. And
I was gonna say, it's little stuff like that we, as not just as like people who do like podcasting and sports radio and calling games like that, we really like. It really does feel like some people like care about what we're doing, because it's not that often people are like, hey, you're doing a good job, And I feel you in that way, because when I was calling games at LIU for football, if you listen to my first game, probably there, it was like a deer in headlights. But like as the season went on, like I got more into it, like and everything, and it was like my dad always listened to the games because I was calling them, and my dad is always my biggest critic. Like he'll tell me when I suck, or tell me like if I said something wrong. He was like, Chris, you're getting better and better each week, and I was like, Dad, thank you. And I tell my dad, I'm like, Dad, don't be a regular parent and tell me I just do good because you're my dad. Tell me I suck if I suck.
Yeah. And I mean, these kids really do put their blood, sweat, and tears into these games. They work hard. The PAL Junior Islanders are a team that are new. It's a lot of new faces, so they're very raw. They're still learning how to communicate with each other, and they do play a lot of dump and chase hockey, because I think that's kind of an easier way to teach a young group of kids this. But they're definitely getting better.
Mm-hmm.
And the coach is a good coach. He's a really, really good guy, the coach. His name is Jack Gregg. He's a really, really nice guy and everything. And, he's very optimistic. He's very positive and everything. But it just meant a lot to me, because, when I feel like I'm down and I feel like I don't want to do this anymore, it's like I remember things like that. And then I remember the people that come on our show every week, all the time. Taylor Dahl, Christine Wen, Andrew Pisano, Joe Pisano, Jake Asman. These are not small time people. These are big time people that have, huge followings.
Right.
And for them to always take the time out for me and you to come on this show and just talk about whether it's Jaguars football or Christine Wen giving us updates on what's going on in her world, and we're having a lot of laughs with her, or when we're breaking Colin Stevenson's balls about the Rangers and him being an Islanders troll, and the Pisanos and talking about wrestling and all that stuff, it just makes me want to do this more and more.
Exactly, because and also to that point, if we didn't weren't getting better and better each time, or we didn't enjoy the time, or they didn't enjoy the time that they had with us, they wouldn't come back on the show. They would be like, oh, no, I'm busy. They probably make some excuse, or just flat out ignore us when we ask for them to come back on.
So, but I just want to take a minute and just acknowledge Bradley Gray's father for just, for the kind words, and just, because those are the types of things that motivate me to do better. So my next game is not until January, because the schedule's a little wonky, and they play home games in different arenas. They don't play them automatically where I go.
Right.
So then my next home game is in January. So you can rest assured that knowing that he's watching, I'm going to make sure that I put 100% into that broadcast every time.
Right.
So, and like I said, I appreciate Bradley Gray's father for telling me that. Like I said, it just made me want to work 10 times harder.
Yeah.
to do it. So, all right, before we get out of here, let's just recap how the former Jets fared over the last 2 weeks. We didn't do the week before because we were off for Thanksgiving. So here's how it went. All right, we'll start with Jamal Adams. So we'll do week 12 when they played Washington on Monday Night Football. He had 9 tackles, 3 assists, and he had an interception. But the interception was deflected in the air, and he just caught it. So it wasn't like he really worked that hard for it.
So it's like two. It's like two. There's other interceptions. He doesn't have 2 real interceptions.
So week 13, this past yesterday against San Francisco, he had 4 tackles, 2 assists, no sacks, no interceptions in their win over the 49ers. So for the season, Jamal Adams, 56 solo tackles, 0 sacks, 2 INTs, 5 passes defended on the season. And as of today, the Jets have picks number 4 and 5 in the NFL draft.
Love it.
So that's Seattle's pick right there. All right, number 2, Sam Darnold. He has not played since November 7th, which was against the New England Patriots, where he went 16 of 33 for 172 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He was placed on injury reserve with a fractured scapula. He could miss the rest of the season. If that is the case, Sam Darnold's season was 1,986 yards, 7 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 5 rushing touchdowns. And for that, we got a 2nd and a 4th round pick. Now, Robbie Anderson. 2 weeks ago when Cam Newton was a starting quarterback, he had this weird, love fest with Cam Newton on Instagram. It was a little creepy, if you ask me. So he did not play week 13. The Panthers were on a bye week. Week 12, he had 1 catch for 15 yards, no touchdowns, and a loss to Miami. I think he was targeted 4 times. For the season, 29 catches, 288 yards, 3 touchdowns. And he just signed a $30 million extension. Okay, Leonard Williams, number 4. Week 12 against the Eagles, 4 tackles, no sacks in their win. Week 13, 4 tackles, no sacks in the loss to Miami. For the season, 25 tackles, 5.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble. So decent, but not near the 11.5 sacks he had last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then finally, Chris Herndon, week 12 and 13, no catches, no yards. Apparently, he was on the COVID list. I think he had COVID. So, but for the season, for Chris Herndon, who we got a 4th round pick for, 3 catches, 23 yards, 1 touchdown.
Gotta love it.
Just when you think that Joe Douglas is not the greatest general manager in the world, or he's a terrible general manager, look back on what he got for these players, except for Robbie Anderson, and trust me, you'll understand why he did what he did. So, all right, Klim, before we get out of here, anything else?
That really is it, honestly. Again, we go back to wrestling, I know we talked about it a lot in the first hour of the show, but it's going to be really tough not seeing Johnny Gargano on NXT or in the WWE in general, because you figure Johnny Gargano was one of those, forever guys like John Cena, The Rock, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, that they were going to be there forever.
Cassius Ohno.
Yeah, Cassius. You figured he'd be there forever, but now it's going to be weird where if he signs to AEW, Impact, goes to New Japan, it's going to be weird seeing him in another brand. And I wish him the best everywhere because he deserves the best at all times.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, WWE is just trying to force these young guys down your throat, and I think it's going to be a big mistake. But I don't work for them, so that's just my opinion. As for me, I will be attending the Create a Pro show Sunday night in Limbrook. Main event, Matt Cardona against Eric James.
So, that'll be good. I like Eric James.
Yeah, it's going to be a good card, man. I'll just run down the card real quickly. It's Cardona against James in the main event for the title. Brian Myers is teaming up with VSK against Phil Imperfect. That's Aaron Rourke and Philip Cardigan. Max Caster is going to be there facing Smart Mark Sterling. Slade is going to face Carlo Weiss. And Bear Bronson will be making his return to Create a Pro against Bryce Donovan. And then there's a fatal 5-way match featuring Santa Claus. But I'm super excited to go. I'm bringing my daughter again. My daughter Riley's going to go with me because she had so much fun the first time. I got to get her earplugs this time, though, because it was too loud. When the guys hit the mat, it was really loud. So, but can't wait. Wish I could have had a chance to, hopefully I see Jack Tomlinson on the card this week. And I'm pretty excited to go. So
No, yeah, I'm doing the officially now. Helping out at the toy drive on Thursday. So
nice, congratulations, man.
Thank you. I'm officially, yeah. Like I said, my buddy knows Brian Myers' dad from the golf course because Brian is native Glencover.
Yeah.
So my dad, when me and my buddy, we're going to go there Thursday and we're going to help out, give some toys out to the kids, and hopefully I'll plug the podcast and hopefully get some people on the show.
Do some networking, man. Tell Brian Myers, if you see Brian Myers and chat with him, tell him, we've had Jack Tomlinson on the show. We're big supporters of Creative Pro. We have VSK. We really want to help you guys grow. So anything we could do to help, I mean, we would love to do it. So
now here's a good question. I own a VSK shirt and I own a Jack Tomlinson shirt. Which shirt do I wear Thursday?
You can't be that guy. Nope. Don't.
So you don't even wear one of those shirts.
I think I wouldn't wear either one of those shirts. I really wouldn't. Don't be that guy.
But it's like, oh, what VSK? Here you are, and here's me. I'm wearing your shirt.
No, you can't do it. You're going to be a tool. I'm telling you, you're going to be a tool. Go in a different shirt. Go wear a Jet shirt or something. Wear an Islander shirt. Wear an Islander shirt. That's a better idea.
I can't wear an Islander shirt. 11 games in a row. They suck.
So what? VSK is a big Islander fan.
It's true.
Is he going to be there?
Yeah, that's why I want to wear his shirt.
You need to tell VSK to stop dodging us and come on the damn show.
I haven't emailed him in a while. I got to email him again.
This is your time to network. That's the big thing. You network at this event. You tell Brian Myers, you're a big fan of Creative Pro. We do this Moffett on the Mic show. I go to the shows all the time and everything. And, we would love to, maybe we could work, talk about partnering up in some aspect. I mean, we would love to help you guys out any way we can. We could do a lot, whatever you got, we would love it. Worst case it says no. But at the same time, it's just like, we'd love to have you as a guest on the show. We'd love to have a working relationship with Creative Pro to have you guys come on our show, talk about the cards and everything. I mean, all that shit's going to help you, man. So definitely just give it some thought. But remember, you're there for the cause. And that's the toy drive. So don't forget that, too. That's the more important thing at the end of the day is the toy drive. That's a cool thing, man. That's a good thing that you're doing. So, but listen, man, have fun with it. All right. When is it?
It's Thursday. This Thursday.
Okay. So good, man. Have fun with it, man. Enjoy it. Enjoy giving the toys to the kids because that's really what it's all about at the end of the day. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then, that's it. So. And on that note, that'll do it for this episode of Moffett on the Mic. We ran late today. We hadn't been around for a while, so we ran a little longer than we would like, but that's okay. We'd like to thank Andrew Pisano for coming on our show, as always. We also like to thank Kevin Owens and Vince McMahon for being on our show as well. Really kind of made our day. A little surprise visit from Kevin Owens and Vince McMahon, right, Klim?
Oh, my God. Too good. It's just too good.
So... as always, you can follow me at Moff on the Mic on Instagram, and you can follow the A1 Sports Network as well on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I also do play-by-play announcing for the PAL Junior Islanders. You can follow them on Instagram. You can also follow the league, the USPHL, on Instagram as well. There's a lot of good, kids that are working hard, trying to, really more for college recruiting for hockey. That's really what the end game is for a lot of the kids that go there. So definitely check out their games. They're on Twitter. Their highlights are great. The announcers that call the games are great. So just definitely give them a look, give them a follow, give them a like. They could definitely love to get the influx of supporters. So again, you can also subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can like and comment and leave us a 5-star review because it makes us feel so special at the end of the day. Klim, are we back next Monday?
Oh, we should be, yes.
All right, so for now, next Monday will be our next show. If not, we'll figure it out. So, but again, on behalf of Klim, I'm Craig. This is the Moffett on the Mic show. Wherever you are, stay safe, wear your mask, enjoy the week, enjoy the games, enjoy everything. Klim, enjoy that toy drive, have fun with it, and we'll hopefully be back next Monday right here on the A1 Sports Network, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Everybody have a great rest of the week. Take care of yourselves, and we will see you later.